Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I am your intrepid host, Mr. David Dahl, and it is 1:19 a.m. in the morning time, Eastern Daylight Time. I think today is the 12th of September 2018. So, just a little bit of timestamp there. Howdy, y'all. And this little video here is about the calm before the storm, and I'm discussing basically the physical storm that's off the coast of the East Coast right now. Florence is her name. And it's like, Flo, my baby, what are you doing here? Well, I know there is a lot of anticipation going on. There are a lot of people who've been looking at this situation. And I just did a Facebook video, David Null on Facebook, and it's basically the same thing. But given a couple of tips and whatever about what to do, some preparedness. See, you get caught with your pants down kind of deal. Like you can't get out of South North Carolina or the Georgia coast. I think it's going to hit the Georgia coast pretty nasty too. I think Savannah's going to get smacked. But and which is a shame because there's a lot of good history in Savannah. Been to Savannah a couple of times. Pretty nice old town. Along with South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina. Yeah. Okay. Now, so if 150-mile-an-hour winds hit the East Coast, 130-mile-an-hour winds hit the East Coast, 100-mile-an-hour winds hit the East Coast, that's going to be some serious boo-boo, okay? Now, what's the other issue is going to be the water. All right. Now, if you cannot get out, get 50 miles away from the coast. You got to get 50 miles away from the coast. That first 50 miles is jam-packed, If you can't get out of the state, try to find somebody, somewhere, something at 50 miles away, all right? And try to do the best that you can with that situation. Now, as many of you know, I grew up in Florida. I grew up in Tampa, been on the East West Coast, all around Florida, blah, 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 blah. A lot of storms in my lifetime. And this one's coming in off the Atlantic is not one that I'm real happy about. And because it's one that I've seen in a dream. Okay. It was not a pretty situation at the end of this dream. Okay. Not pretty. And I'm being told to open up this little line of thing and say, listen, now you may not know me. I'm David Null. I live down here in Southwest Georgia. But if you don't have a place to go, I got 18 acres, about 7 acres that's high and usually dry, depending. But if you have nowhere to go and you literally don't have a solution, I can at least help put you up as a camper. Now, my house needs a little cleaning. I'm an old man. I lived by myself for a while, and so understand that. But I'm most willing to share. If you don't have a place and you need to get out, get out. I've already said on my Facebook page, I will open up my property at least, if not my house. Okay. If you come prepared to just help me. That's all I wish in return. If you can't bring food with you, I'm probably sure that we can drum up some meals. Will it be something that you like? I can't answer that. We'll do our best. But if you have no other alternative and you need a place to go, contact me. 229-941-5117. Leave a message because it only rings 4 times. And if I can't get to the phone, which is most of the time, please leave a message, okay? Now, my Facebook messaging doesn't really get through to me, okay? You could probably reach me quicker through a comment on the YouTube thing, okay? Now, if you know of someone, whatever, this is not a time to be worried about who's got what, okay? I don't have much, but I've shared in the past, and this seems to be like a time that needs to be shared now, okay? Like I say, I've got tents, I've got a little camping trailer. There are other places, things, whatever, we could put you up, okay? Might not be, the Ritz, but it would beat the hell out of living on the street or in a bombed out, I say bombed out, a storm bombed out situation if you're, in that 50-mile radius, I mean, 50-mile to 100-mile path along the coast, okay? There is the potential of 30 million people, 30 million, that's 30 million people being affected by this storm. And I'm not talking about total destruction. I'm talking about just electricity going down. That means no gasoline. That means a lot of stuff. Okay. Now, I have lived down here on the coast. I've been through Camille. I've been through Donna back in the day when when I lived in Tampa as a young boy, at about 63 or 4. No, I was actually about 62 because my grandpa was still alive. But we lost 3 trees in the front yard. Okay. We couldn't get out of our little street here for almost a week. Our electricity was out, and that was back in 62. Okay. So I've seen storms and what, blah blah blah. Okay, all right. And every storm is different. And I mean, there could be 5 houses that get totally destroyed in the middle of a subdivision, and there would be, it'd be like a tornado went, kanong, whipped it all up and took it away and just left a hole there. And you don't know if that's your house or not. Okay. So weird stuff happens in these storms. I'm here to tell you. And there is so much evidence that this particular storm is being steered. Yes. All right. When you look at the NASA pictures of the sky and you zoom in, you can see the patterns in the chemtrails that they're leaving in front of the storm, behind the storm, which doesn't make too much sense, but all along the coast. And they are generating fields that I don't know what they're trying to do with this storm, but it ain't a good one. They have the means to shut this storm down. They do. And they're not doing it. If anything, they're telling us it's going to be a Cat 5 when it reaches us. Why do they keep doing this to us? Okay. Because they're feeding off of our anger. They're feeding off of, oh my God, we're all going to frickin' die. They want that loosh from us. They want that cosmic energy. They want that negative stuff because it's like a cocaine rush. All right. So what do we do? What do you do? All right. I'm going to go down a really quick list of stuff. Okay. And if you can't get out and you just got to hunker down somewhere nearby and you just gotta, okay, fine. This is what you do. A 5-gallon bucket. Find one with a lid if you can, or you can do something else for the lid. But somebody says, things you don't think about, paper towels. Paper towels can be used as toilet paper, but toilet paper is not used for paper towels. Okay, just saying. All right. So there are things that you can do. Put a roll of toilet paper in a plastic bag and seal it up, a big Ziploc bag. Okay. To do that with some paper towels. Do you have a cooler? And you got an old cooler, brand new, big one, small one, use it as a dry box. I have several old coolers from my camping days. And what I use my coolers for is to put dry stuff in that I want to keep dry. Okay. And I put a bungee cord around it when I put it in my canoe in case it topples over. It floats. All right. I can tie it off to something. So, I mean, even if your house loses a roof or whatever, you can still have dry goods and things in a cooler. Okay. You can still have coffee and dry things, and you can tie it down. You could weight it down, Okay. If you got milk jugs, save a few of them. They come in handy for all kinds of stuff. You can cut the top off of them and use them as a collector. You can cut a hole out of them and turn them into a pitcher. Keep a couple. All right. Empty a couple of them out and put some tap water in them, whether you're using it for your hands or to drink or to whatever. You're going to need water that's clean. Alcohol. Get the highest percent alcohol. Get the kind that's 80 or 90 proof, because then you can use that alcohol to start fires, to make an alcohol stove with. It's really good for disinfectant. If you get a cut or something like that, if your neighborhood floods, wear pants, wear long trousers. Try not to wear jeans because they get wet and they'll weigh you down. Try to wear some kind of slacks. Even if you got to get a pair of dress slacks out of the closet, they're better than jeans. Why? And why do you need to wear them? Because if you're walking through water, you could run across something that's submerged, you not see it, and you walk by without in a pair of shorts and you scrape your leg. You are now inviting all kinds of bacteria, infections, you name it, to get into your system. And when you're in an emergency situation, you need to protect yourself. Long pants is the best thing to do. Ladies, men, kids, wear long pants. Try to be, you know, even a pair of, jogging sweatpants. And I don't mean the heavy duty ones, the lighter ones, but to the point though, even leggings will help protect, okay? Something on your legs between you and any object that might be in the water. Now, you might not expect to be wading in the water. That's my point. Have at least a pair of slacks, trousers, something that you can get your hands onto. They don't have to fit, and nasty good. And if you're in a situation to where your neighborhood's flooded, do you care if it's a dress pair of pants or not? Just say it. So you don't go, that's a what? Which is more important, a $20 pair of dress slacks or your life? And wearing the slacks in water could very easily save your life. Okay, never walk barefoot in the water. Always wear shoes and socks. Okay, in the water. I've learned this many years in the swamp and in other things. Wear shoes and socks. Don't care what kind they are. Stay away from boots, but wear shoes and socks, okay, in the water. And neighborhoods are going to flood, okay? Now, if you see sparks and electricity going off, stay away unless you absolutely know what you're doing. Another thing, if your neighborhood floods, use a walking stick. You say, well, I don't know. I don't have. Do you have a broom? Do you have a mop? Do you have anything with a handle on it? Use it. Take your broom out in the street. Most of them, the broom handle, the top unscrews. Okay, the newer type, or they're from the dollar store. Use the handle for to help you walk. Push it in front of you so that if there's something there, you can feel it out. Never go into water you don't know. And even if you've walked in it before, if things flowed in unseen, there are underlying currents that you could walk through it, and then on your way back, something flowed in you didn't see, or you're 2 foot further over to the left or right, and you run into something you didn't run into before. Always use a walking stick. Find something. Use it as a stick in the water with you. It's important. It'll save your life. Now, the 5 gallon bucket, I can't tell you how important 5 gallon buckets are. You can use them as a seat. You can use them to poop in. You can use them to put water in. You can use them to wash dishes in. 5 gallon bucket, 3 gallon buckets in general. Get a couple. If you don't have them, look around. If after a storm, go looking for them. I bet you there's things that wash up on the shore or whatever. Those are the types of things you need and are going to want. If you look back at Katrina, you saw folks in the neighborhoods. They were all sitting on 5 gallon buckets. That was their chair. It was the only thing they had. But the 5 gallon bucket survived the flood. They raised, lowered this and that, and they were left over when the floodwaters receded. Okay, so they come in handy. All right, for all of the above. All right, so is that important? Yeah. If you're in an emergency situation, then you need to have this information. Pass it along to somebody. I try to give how to survive in the wilderness. What are the minimal things that you should take? And it's like, for example, if you're caught in the storm and your roof gets ripped off. Now, I lost several windows in my house during one storm many years ago, and the wind blew in and it got me cold. It wasn't that cold outside. It was like 70, 72. But I got a chill from the cold rain and the wind, and my temperature dropped, and I started to go into hypothermia. And in a storm, something like that, especially people who would get the chills easily. I mean, folks who aren't kind of used to this stuff. And I'm a grizzled old son of a bitch. So it's like, yeah, okay, I can put up with stuff. And if I feel chilly, I can work it out. But to people who've never been in a situation like that, there are things that you can do. You can take a regular shirt like this T-shirt that I have on here that's so old. It's it's older than my grandchildren, just about it. Anyway, to the point in that, I can take a plastic Walmart bag and take a couple of them and stuff them inside my shirt. Okay. And that will block the rain and it will help keep the heat in. Okay. Now I have a condition where, I get overheated too easily. So I don't have that issue, but there are people who get cold easily. Some plastic trash bags. I mean, stuff them in your clothes. If it's dry, old newspaper, any kind of paper, wad it up and stuff it in your clothes. It will keep you from freezing to death. Okay, Marie, is that you? I think. So, is there somebody else on? Quartz Quantum. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see. All right, I try not to put my glasses on because then I get distracted. But good morning, good evening to both of you. But I'm on a tirade about this storm coming in, folks. And hi, Miss Marie. Always glad to see you on. And it's like, some of these folks are not going to get out in time. They're just not. And they're not going to have a place to go. And I will reiterate, if you need a place to come, you can come to my modest little place down here, the Hermitage down here in Southwest Georgia. I got 18 acres. There are places to camp, stay. I have things to stay in. We'll work it out. If you don't have a place to go, come here. Call me. I don't get Facebook messages. I'm sorry, but leave a comment. Call me on the phone. I'm in the Moultrie directory under David No, Zion Grove Church Road. Come, let me know you're coming. But and we'll make arrangements. I got plenty of water. I got some food. Not a lot, but probably keep you, from passing out and dying. But to the point, though, it's important because if this storm does do what they're trying to make it do, there's going to be a crap load of commotion go on. And you know what? They may be using this storm as an excuse to reset. Because imagine if the whole eastern seaboard, or a lot of it, lost its electricity and the banks went out. They just went offline. Okay, and this offline. And they'd affected this and the commerce. And I mean, I-95 along the eastern seaboard, for goodness sakes, shut down I-95 for a while and see if that don't affect some things. You know what I'm saying? And so here we go. But what if the bad guys, and as I think I just stated, if you go look at some of the NASA maps and everything and what the cloud tops look like and everything, they are making this storm to be a Cat 4. They are steering this storm towards us. They want this storm to do a little loop-de-loop and drop back down into Georgia towards Macon and Atlanta and smack some more people, because there are a crap load of people that live up in that area all along the eastern seaboard. And it would cripple a lot of stuff. It would kill a lot of people. People in nursing homes. I mean, to let the electricity go off. I've worked in several nursing homes in my lifetime. And I don't know of one of them that has a generator that could even last more than a day or two. Okay? And it's like, are you serious? Now, I keep saying this, and I've been getting this download, 50 miles. You got to get 50 miles away from the coast. Don't care where you live, get 50 miles away from the coast. If you see it's at you and you're fixed, I don't know. It's like they're hitting me over the head with this. 50 miles, tell them 50 miles. Okay. So I told you. All right. So, but that seems to be really important, that 50-mile thingy. So the other thing is to look around and see what you got. Now, if you don't have gas money, I don't know. I don't have money that I can spare to send to people. Otherwise, I would, to help them get out of North Carolina. And I'm kind of worried about South Carolina and Georgia, actually, and Savannah. A lot of people there, a lot of flat land, a lot of places you can't get too much higher than about 4 or 5 foot above sea level, for a long way, If you know about southeast Georgia, it's the Okefenokee Swamp. It's one of the largest swamps in the world. Okay, other than Brazil and the Amazon river forests and so forth. The Okefenokee Swamp is huge, and guess what? It's a swamp. It's 2, maybe 3 foot above sea level for miles, like 100. And so from Jacksonville west, it takes you until you get to almost the middle of the state of Florida before you get ground that's high enough that's above the sea level. Okay. So same thing with South Georgia. I mean, when you leave Valdosta, which is kind of hilly, you go 5 miles towards Homerville, Georgia, and there's water on both sides of the road, even in a drought, because that's sea level. Okay, that's brackish water. That's the Okefenokee Swamp. So the Okefenokee Swamp starts almost, well, it does actually go almost all the way to I-75. So, if you're thinking that you're going to be above sea level very far, I-75, it goes across parts of the Oconee and, I'm sorry, wrong one. Anyway, part of a national forest in northern Florida, southern Georgia, and the Okefenokee Swamp. So, you're only a couple of feet above the water, all the way that far inland. Okay. So when I say 50 miles, they're saying get away, because rising water, too much rain, just going to create havoc. I mean, when I've been from Valdosta, across through Homerville and over to, the east coast of Georgia, and on a good day, just during thunderstorms, and the water will get even across the road with the ditches, just on a heavy duty thunderstorm. So I can't think about what 15 inches is going to do. So y'all be smart. Okay. Don't stay. Don't hang around. I don't know where you can go, but I'm offering my house, my land, whatever I can. And I'm not asking for anything but just simply your help. If you know somebody else that needs to get out and they don't have a place or whatever, like I say, I don't have any money, but I got some extra food, a little this, a little that, but I got a place to stay, and we'll make do with the rest of it. So, if you got to hang out though, make sure you got another set of batteries. If you've got rechargeable batteries, charge them up. If you've got your car battery or whatever, make sure your car is in a safe, is on the leadward side of a building, for example. Don't park your car out. Park it on the back side of your house. If your house is, just say the front of your house is facing the storm, park your car behind your house. Tear down the kids' swing set if you have to, but put your car behind your house. Why? Because the house will block any storm damage. Okay. I mean, we did that when I was a kid. That was the first thing. My grandpa was like, they tore our swing set up, and moved it to the backyard of our neighbors so we could all park our cars behind the house. Guess what? We lost 2 trees that storm, and they would have crushed our cars. And instead, well, we ended up having to drive through the neighbors out to the street behind us because we couldn't get out our front door. We couldn't back out. Anyway, so some of this stuff makes perfect sense, but there are so many people who don't even think about it. Say, well, the wind's coming from that direction, and they leave their car in the front of the house. And then when it gets tore up with tree limbs and stuff, they go, whoa, my car got destroyed. Park it behind the house. Figure out a way, because your house will block some of the storm damage and stuff. Will it keep it from being destroyed? I'm not saying that, but it'll damn sure help, unless instead of leaving it out in the open, duh. Even if you're at a Walmart or something like, park behind on the leeward side, meaning the opposite side where the wind's coming from. Stay there, hunker down. There are simple things you can do, but don't try to go anyway. Try to be smart about it. And something I mentioned in my Facebook, you see these videos of everybody, there's a storm, but the wind is going by and there's somebody standing at the corner. They're like trying to look around the corner. They're trying to cross the street or whatever it is. And it's like, are you nuts? And then you see these people try to cross through the flood or the whatever it is, and they get swept off or something like that. Don't be a damn fool. If the wind, water, whatever it is, if you're behind the building and you're on the leeward side, stay put. Don't be stupid, because if you move from that location, you are endangering your life. And unless you just want to fly off to Kansas when you're in Borneo, I'm just saying, but don't be a damn fool. There's nothing that says you got to go out there. Now, if somebody's dying and they're stuck and you think you got a chance, well, then that's the risk you're going to take. But if you're just trying to get to the other side of the street or whatever it is, stay put. It ain't worth it. It ain't worth it. It ain't worth it. No. So be smart. As far as things to have, if you're caught in a bad storm, somebody's going to be hurt. Somebody's going to be hurt. Somebody's going to get scratched, hit, smacked, something. They're going to be cold. They're going to be something. There is going to be medical attention. Somebody's going to need medical attention. So what do you do? Well, number one, have some isopropyl alcohol. It's really cheap. Number two, some gauze pads. Stay away from bandages because bandages ain't going to do you a crap load of good, okay? Get some good tape. Duct tape works in a pinch. If you can't get medical tape, buy a roll of duct tape. You can cut it. You can take duct tape and make strips out of it. I got cut over my eye one time in the forest and couldn't get out. And I literally made, what do they call them? They're stitchy type bandages. There's a name for them. Anyway, I made my own bandages and taped my head up until I could get out of the forest. I never did get stitches. I still got the scar up here, but to the point though, duct tape, and it will stick to your skin really well. So do you have to spend a lot of money? No. Grab some stuff from around the house, okay? I keep saying paper towels. You can make a bandage with a paper towel. You can't make a bandage with toilet paper. You can wipe your butt with paper towels. You can't mop up anything with toilet paper. So if you had the choice, should you keep? Paper towels. Because you can wash your hands and dry them. You can dry the paper towel and use it to wipe your butt later on. You can only wipe your butt with toilet paper. That's it. And it turns into goo. Just think about it. This is emergencies, okay? So when I'm camping, do I take paper? I just take paper towels, because why take paper towels and toilet paper when one works for the other? And just saying, okay? And the toilet paper just dissolves. All it does is have to get damp, and it's useless. Paper towels will dry and become paper towels again. Toilet paper just doesn't do it. Anyway, just a tip. What other? Fill up your bathtub. Even if your house gets ripped off, you'll have something in your bathtub. And I suggest you make sure everybody takes a bath, shower, whatever it is. Okay, clean the bathtub out, rinse it out really good, and then fill it up full of water. You can always let the water out. But if you run out of water, you can't always put it in. Okay, so you can always drain the water out. Now, what other thing? I think I've showed these, and it's these kind of candles. Now, I've tested all different kinds of candles and wicks and things. These are like plumber's candles. Now, these are really good, but you got to have a really good candle holder, labra thingy, and I've got one upstairs that I use. And it's like the old-timey brass ones that you put in, they used back in the days, medieval days, like think Scrooge and the candle and the holder. Okay. All right, so I've got some of them just because I like them. But for practical purposes, these things, they're $1 at the dollar store. All right, for 3, 6, 12 of these, okay? And with a little, if you had to, 2 of these a day will get you back and forth to the bathroom at night. It'll light up a room. It'll help you out. Now, the biggest thing is you don't put one in every room and keep them lit all night long. It's just plain dumb. You just light up the area that you need. But this little 12-pack for $1 will get you several days if you're careful and you're choosing what you need. All right. Now, there you go. And they got little aluminum tins that come in handy for all weird kind of stuff. You would be surprised. I mean, the edges of these things are really sharp. And I literally used one of these for a knife one time, just as an experiment. Okay. So I'm on a camping trip. Cut things anyway. So, and you can fold these things together. It's amazing when you're in an emergency situation. Okay. So this calm before the storm's out yonder. I mean, this is Wednesday. It's the East Coast is supposed to get hit late tomorrow afternoon. So you got a day. You got like 24 hours before this bitch gets nasty. Okay, and I say bitch because her name is Florence. Now, I don't think I knew a Florence, except on that show years ago when she was like, "Eat my, kiss my grits." Okay, that Florence. Flow. So other things to do. All right. Now, in the old days, people used to tape their windows. Well, you know what? Taping the windows doesn't keep the window from breaking. It keeps it from shattering. Okay. So you were like, well, blah, 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 blah. Listen, if you can't get plywood, cardboard works. All right. Take a cardboard box, strip it up, paste it up, and if nothing else, use a staple gun. You can use a stapler, depending on the type of house you have. But I mean, use cardboard to protect your windows. Okay, even in your car, put cardboard or something. Um, uh, Lash it down. Use some bungee cords, whatever it is, to protect your windshield. Put your car on the leadward side of a building. You can do it. Um, if the storm is coming and it's blowing on the front of your house, go to the back of the house. Just if take your valuables and put them on the inside wall, the back side of your house. Stay away. If your front, like I've got all southern windows here, if the storm was coming from this direction, which it probably will, because it very seldom comes from the north, my windows are going to get hosed. Okay. Now I got some plastic. I've got some sheets of thin sheets of plywood. I've got something to cover these windows. And I had a big tree limb come down just a week ago from just a thunderstorm that like to broke one of my windows out. And I was really lucky. And that was just a thunderstorm. But there was some straight line winds that were coming across. I was watching trees turn sideways. Thank God I live at the bottom of this hill. But there are people who are out in the open and don't have all this other stuff. You need to be careful. Be careful. Take a look at your surroundings. If your neighbor's lawn chairs are out and the wind's blowing from their direction, go put their lawn chairs up because they're going to hit your house or they're going to become something else. They're going to be missiles. All right. And a lot of people, if you've ever been around near whatever a storm, get crap out your yard. It doesn't matter where you put it. Go pile it up behind your house because if the storm is going to be nasty, it ain't going to matter. But you can keep it from being flying debris and chop your head off. And I'm here to tell you, a lightweight aluminum chair that you're sitting out in your yard with a 100-mile wind will chop your head slam off. It ain't going to just knock you down. It's going to chop you off. Okay. It's going to hurt you. All right. People say, it's just an aluminum chair. Yeah, but put it in 100 miles an hour and see what will happen to it now. All right. Especially to human flesh. No. So there are things you can do. Look around your neighborhood. Dave, you ever read chat on a live stream or just talk? I try to read. Stephen Kennedy, how are you? Yes. Catch the archive. See you soon. Bye, Marie. You're probably already back. Get a boat. Yes, I have a boat. Wait. My ex's Navy back in the day, even he had a preparation mentally in case the fan, was always prepared. Yep. Stephen Kennedy. Stephen, hello. How are you? A lot of the problems I've had with not reading the chat before has been that my little Chromebook here and YouTube don't get along sometimes, and I can't see the chat. So a lot of times, if I've got something I got to get off my mind, I get sidetracked really easy in my old age. And so I will try not to read the chat until I get my point across, and then I go to the chat. But to the point, this one right here is like, open chat, open discussion, question, comment, whatever. I'm always open to them, even negative remarks. I'm not so studious that I'm right all the time or anything like that. But I do know what I know, And I do know from experience that it can get you through and all these other types of things. And so I just feel compelled is a really good word to use right now. Compelled to say something about this storm. And in doing so, I guess in my mind, psychically, I'm sending out love to the universe. I'm sending out prayers to the universe through this medium. I'm trying to give advice to folks who might not be used to any type of serious emergency like this, or they've never been in a situation like that. Or maybe they've been in a situation and didn't know how to react. I mean, there's just so many things. But there's so many little tiny little simple things that you can do in an emergency. And it helps in other situations too. But I'm speaking of, like, man, the storm is coming and it takes a left hand turn or a right hand turn, say, it's heading for, Savannah, Georgia. And it ends up going north and hitting Virginia and up in there in Delaware and Maryland. Do you think them folks in Maryland have ever had a Cat 4 hurricane hit them before? Are you serious? Think about Virginia Beach and all along up there and all the lowlands, Chesapeake Bay and all that. Oh my God, are you serious? Have these people ever, Martha's Vineyard? Da, da, da. I mean, how many of these folks have had a Cat 2, 3, or 4 or a 5 storm hit them? All it's got to do is deviate a little bit. All it's got to do is wiggle around a little bit. A lot of folks are going to be in a shitstorm. Okay, excuse my French. So it's not just the wind, but I'm here to tell you that if you've never been in a windstorm like that, it's some serious mess. I mean, anyway. But to the point, get out if you can. All right. My phone number again is 229-941-5117. I live in Southwest Georgia on the west side of I-75 by about 40, 50 miles at least. So I am further west than I-75, and I know what my elevation is. My elevation is at 270, 260, 270, right in there. And where the house is sitting is about 240 because it's about 20, 30 feet. I live at the bottom of a hill. So, but anyway, so even at the low spot on my property is 220 feet above sea level. So I'm comfortable where I am. Let's see. Let me read over here what we got. Sherry D. Hello, I just noticed you on and live. Hi, Sherry D. Hi, Quantum. Hi, Stephen. Yep. Boy, whatever it is, got all the hair is trying to stand up on top of my head tonight. That's interesting. Not that I really care. I mean, I try to look presentable, but it's like I haven't had my hair done in so long. It's just pathetic. Anyway, but back to the storm thing. I know that Mike Morales, YouTube, he does a thing on weather warfare. Mr. MBB and BP Earthwatch and a lot of other folks, Thor News, a lot of these other folks are watching these things. But also, if you look at the patterns in the skies, they're also fragging the top of these clouds with some kind of energy beams. They are doing something nasty, and they're steering this storm towards the East Coast. Where it's going to end up, how it's going to end up, none of us really know. But the projections, the visions that I've seen, I saw some of these back in 2013, and I've been warning folk, but this is one of them coming in. And I keep praying, Lord, please don't be as bad as it's supposed to be. But even 8 inches of rain from just a good old tropical storm can create some crap. So even that in its minimal state can still create some serious situations like flash floods and so forth like that. So down trees, just saying. So even if it was just a class 1 hurricane above a tropical storm, the way it's coming in and how it's going to hit, where it's going to hit, it still can be devastating in areas. So please be smart enough to recognize what it is. All right. Get out if you can. Okay. All I can say. Like I said, I'm opening up my property in my house, It ain't much nothing, but it's I'm not asking for any recompense. Just help me out when you get here. That's all. Just help me out when you get here. You know, we've got water, we've got this, we've got that. I've got batteries, I got some solar energy, and so now the calm before the other storm that is upon us as well. And within the next week, the galactics have sent more information, and I got some confirmation on this tonight before I did these videos, is that we're going to get another really good dose of some cosmic waves that are coming in on us right now. As I'm speaking to you right now, the Schumann resonance is literally off the charts. I mean, when I looked at it, well, it's been an hour ago, but they were literally off the charts. I mean, it's like the charts go to like 48 or something like that. And I would bet you that if the chart went to 60, that the Schumann resonance would be peaking out at 60. The graph stops at like 48, maybe it's 50, and you can tell that it was pagan and still heading out there. So the Earth's energies are definitely in flux right now, and it's coming through. Those of us who go barefoot around the house and so forth, especially on the ground, we could feel this energy coming right through us. So it's amazing. It's also confusing a lot of other people. So from a spiritual point, we've got this storm coming in to the East Coast, but we also have another storm coming in from the universe. So it's kind of interesting that these two storms are going to happen about the same time. It was said that maybe as early as Saturday or Sunday, we were going to get these purple waves or violet waves or cosmic waves coming in. That is going to affect us all mentally, spiritually, and psychically, and on a DNA type level. So it's like, okay. So I got that confirmation, and that confirmation came in by there are 4 different sources. So it was like, whoa, okay. So that's worth passing on. The climate change thing, a lot of us are being told this is going to be a cold winter. Okay. Now they're trying to convince everybody that, the earth is heating up. It is from the inside. The oceans are heating from the floor up, not from the top down. Okay. Things are happening. Yes, the earth is warmer in places, but the climate is colder. They had snow in Denver less than a week ago. There's been snow in Afghanistan in the summer. There was snow in Dubai. There was snow in Italy and in Austria just last week. There's snow in the Alps already. They were skiing all winter long in the Alps, which normally hasn't happened in a long time. There is a crap load of cold coming. In fact, one of the things that's supposed to offset Florence in a few days, like this weekend, is a cold front that's going to be coming in from the pole and coming down the East Coast and finally push Florence back off into the Atlantic. Really? Well, about this time in September, the 3rd week of September, around my birthday, is when we usually get our first little cold snap down. Okay, guess what? Here it comes. Little cold snap, going to help push the thing off, but all right, but it's cold snap. Okay, and it's coming in all the way from the top of the pole and swinging down. Really odd the way it's doing it. So the earth changes are changing. The earth is still wobbling, as I've discussed over the years. Now, I haven't been able to spot the stars because they've had so much cloud cover down here in South Georgia. I literally have not been able to see the stars. I haven't been able to see the planets. I mean, I can see the moon through clouds, and it's chemtrail clouds. It's not like clouds. So there has been a mist, a high level cloud cover that has kept me from observing the stars now for at least 3 weeks. But I have noticed that, again, the earth has wobbled to the point where when I look north, the North Star is still way too high in the sky. From my location in South Georgia, I should be able to hold my hand up in front of me above the tree line in the shadows in the dark, and Polaris should be just up above my hand. Well, it's like one, two, three, four, 5 hands up from the tree line. It's at like 45 degrees. It's not supposed to be there. So that means the earth has tilted, has shifted. For me to see the North Star in the location that it is, the earth has to, because I seriously doubt the entire constellation of the Little Dipper has moved, but that the earth has tilted up. We have tilted north. All right. So the people in the north are further north. And me, because now that I can see the pole star more, I'm more north. Okay. So is the earth shifting and tilting? Absolutely. That is a true fact. All you got to do is take your reference point, go outside on a fairly clear night, look for the North Star, make sure it is the North Star, and tell where it is on the horizon. If you got to look up at the North Star like that, and you're, say, like in Kentucky, you're way too north. Okay. Anyway, so that's one proof. Now, the next other proof that I've talked about many times is me sitting here and looking at my south facing wall, and there's a little window here, and the moon shows up, and all these other, and I can tell from a degree or two where the moon's going to show up from one day to the next. Well, let me tell you, in a 3-day period, the moon will move 20 degrees. Now, it usually takes it 3 or 4 days to move 20 degrees, but these last two full moons, in August, well, July and August, actually it kind of started in June, but the July and the August full moons went from I could see them in the window here to I have to go outside to see where the moon went. And from my viewpoint, from here to, it would be like looking at it from here. So from straight overhead to my viewpoint, that's about 20 to 30 degrees. Okay. And it will happen in a 2-day period, which usually takes 2 weeks. It will fluctuate up and down and do this little lovely little thing, but that's okay. That's a normal pattern. But for the full moon to go from here to there in a 2-day period is not normal. So the moon is moving separately from the earth wobble. Now, I say that because as I've categorized this thing, now I've been studying, this is my 3rd year of noting where things are. And of all the things that I have noticed, the wobble of the earth can change several degrees in 24 hours, as I've noted in previous posts of a year or more ago. And I'm coming into the time where I'm going to be able to do my readings in the window now, because south facing sun, I'll be able to do my is the sun early or late deal as I used to do before. Now that it's a fall, the sun's coming in my south facing windows. Okay. So, but what I noticed in the spring was the fact that the earth would change as much as 2 hours during a day, being late or early as far as the sun coming up or not, which has to do with our rotation, by the way. But to the point of whether or not we were rolling north or south, wobbling so much, that was harder. And I noticed that the North Pole stayed within a hand's width at arm's length, which is about 5 degrees. So in my study, it's been about 5-degree wobble over the course of several days. But the moon at the same point will move 20 to 30 degrees in the same length of time. So the moon, I'm sorry, the earth in 2 days' time could possibly move 5 degrees, maybe north-south that way. Late, rise and setting, that's different. But now, as far as moving its position north and south wobbling, not near as bad as the moon is wobbling on its own. Now, there are a lot of folks that have been saying that the moon is hollow. Been saying that for many years. NASA said it, blah, blah, blah. And then the galactics say that it's actually a spaceship was brought here a long time ago to help fix problems on the earth. Believe what you will. But now, when I look at how the moon is traveling on its own in the sky, and I mean, I've been watching the sky since I was 9 or 10 years old, and I'm 66. So, long time observing the sky. And I'm thinking to myself, well, wait a minute now, how can the moon move? How can the moon move that much on its own? Well, I was thinking that the earth wobbling was throwing the moon out of kilter. Well, in my observations that I've noticed, the moon's moving on itself. Now, I'm curious as to whether or not the galactics have said, the moon is a spaceship and we're moving it around to help with the earth. I got to wonder, because of my observations, if somebody ain't pushing the moon higher, lower in the orbit, as is necessary to calm those issues upon the earth. Just speculation. But the fact that the moon is moving too much in a 2-day period tells me something else is going on. And if it were a normal type of cycle, it would take several days to reach this, and it doesn't. I've done too many videos on going, oh my God, I could see the moon, and 2 days ago I couldn't. It is what it is. So should we get upset about this? No, but it's an observation. And you can take the same observations, and I encourage you, from your location, because it's like, okay. I mean, I had someone who watched an older video of mine make a comment about it going, I've noticed these same kind of wobbles, and I live in blah, blah, blah. And I go, that's really cool, because even the video was a year old, they were noticing the wobble from their location, even though the video was a year ago. So the moon and the earth, we're still wobbling here, okay? And the fact that we're still mostly on the same side of the sun right now, all of these things are having something to do with it. So be aware of your surroundings, be aware of what's going on. Cosmic energies coming in, they're having an effect on the weather as well. Schumann resonance coming up through the ground, absolutely. The UVC that's coming out of the sky doesn't give you a sunburn. It's irradiating us like a microwave. It's heating, it's going through our skin and hitting our muscle. It's heating up the epidermal layer of our bodies. We're not getting sun burnt on top. We're getting cooked from inside with the UVC, okay? People aren't paying attention to that. And it doesn't matter that it's summertime or wintertime, you should wear something to protect yourself from the UVC, and that's not a whole lot right now. I mean, reflective gear or whatever. I mean, it'll go right through the house, so hey. But understand that these things are hitting us. If you're having a bad day, it might not be anything that what the F is going on. It might be literally something from out yonder somewhere. And I don't mean an evil spirit or something like that. That could be. But it could just very well be all of these cosmic energies that are hitting us. That's a fact. Too many white papers now. Whoa, look at all this extra radiation. Whoa, look at all the extra blah, blah, blah. Whoa, look at this dense section that the whole solar system's going through. So it is real. It is happening. It is now. Just be aware. Being aware of these things gives us power. It gives it, well, I'm not scared because I understand it now. Why do I feel cranky today? I checked the Schumann resonance and oh my God, it's off the charts. And maybe that's why I felt a little anxious today. Tomorrow is like, well, the Schumann resonance down. I feel more calm. There is a cause and there is a cause and reaction, action, reaction kind of thing to what is going on. So when we're aware of these things, we can see them. We've observed them. Now, quote, scientists are writing papers about them. And I just want to throw in this little 10 cents worth. By the way, what is science? Observation. So people who call me a kook are like, well, okay. But I am a scientist. Why? Because I make notations and I observe. Observation. What is science? Observation. Now, they've also proven that things can change by the person observing them. Now, I kind of wonder if I can make the moon wobble the way it does. And if I had that kind of power, I'd stop the chemtrails. But, hey, but to the point though, science is observation. And it's like Dutch Sense. If you had any kind of comment on the internet at all, and you know who Dutch Sense is, he predicts earthquakes with extreme accuracy. Within 50 miles, I think his thing is like he has to have within 100 or 200 miles of where he says it's going to, whatever. But he's accurate so much of the time. Why? Because he observes. And the people who are scientists claim that he's the odd man out when they're the ones that are wrong and they can't admit it. Dutch Sense is an observer. He is a scientist by definition. And the people who call him a quack should give up their degrees. There are PhDs that call Dutch Sense a quack. And I've listened to him for too many times over the years. And it's like I was studying the patterns before I found Dutch Sense. And I was making similar predictions simply because of where the earthquakes were showing up. It's like, duh, just observe. But the people who are supposed to be earthquake people, I mean, I studied geology and I've studied a lot of things in my lifetime. I don't have a PhD or a master's in any of it, but I have common knowledge. I got 66 years of learning and of observation of my world, the universe, the weather, the politics. I have 66 years of life that I'm using as an observer. So I'm still a scientist. I'm still paying attention to what's going on. And it's like, so somebody who wants to come up and go, well, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, wait a minute. I've observed this for the last 4 years, and these are my observations. Now, why would you say that I'm a crackpot? I'm a scientist, and these are my observations. Argue with the observations. Don't argue with me, because I'm simply the observer. I'm simply the person who's writing the information down. I'm simply the person going, hey, can you see this from your part of the world? It's obvious to me and mine, So it's like, so for those folks who want to poo-poo that we're all just crazy conspiracy theorists and all this, I'm a conspiracy analyst, my friends. I'm not a theorist. The theory is that it's there. And I'm here to say, yeah, and these are the observations. These are the scientific observations. Do I have a PhD? I don't need one. I got enough smarts to look out the window and go, oh, the moon's in the wrong place. It wasn't there yesterday. Well, that's an observation. Did I have to go to school to tell that? No. All I have to do is look out my window every day and observe from day to day what the changes are. Absolutely, period. In science, in nature, how do you study nature? As a biologist and whatever, you study it over time. You watch a particular plot of land and you know what goes on. Did these bugs move in? Did a turtle walk by or whatever? You you observe what modifications other things do to the environment. Okay. And so I've been studying the natural environment around my house. I've discussed it before. All the rain we've had this year, the river in my backyard still hasn't flowed in 5 years. We're going on the 6th year. My river hasn't flowed. It used to flow for every year. Well, it would slow down during the summertime, but then pick back up. And this time of the year, the river would be flowing, especially going into hunting season. No water flowing. There's water in the river, but it's not flowing anywhere. It's not high enough to flow. It's like, what? We've had like 30 inches of rain since the beginning of the year, and what? And the river's not flowing. Even the big rivers aren't flowing. Why? They've taken so much water out of the ground to irrigate these farmlands around here that the water's not even reaching the river. The land is sucking it up. And I live on clay. It's hard for clay to suck up water because it's really dense. Sand, on the other hand, goes right through, blah, blah, blah. But the sandy areas, there are no puddles. We'll have an inch of rain, and within 3 or 4 hours, there are no mud puddles. It's being absorbed into Mother Earth. That's how bad it's been. That's how bad the drought has been. But the rivers still haven't flowed. So are the nutrients in the rivers being exchanged? Are the fish going up and downstream? They can't even get up and downstream. In some places, the river is so low, the fish couldn't get through, maybe like a salmon going upstream kind of deal. But any type of normalcy is gone. Alligator population dropped, almost gone. because all the fish and all the bigger items haven't had enough water to live. I mean, it's horrible. The frogs are gone. I, I live in a swamp. There used to be snakes. I haven't seen a snake in a swamp in years. There's nothing for them to eat. There are no frogs. There's none. As a swamp, it has not been in almost 7 years. Okay, we had a wet season about 6 years ago. The river flowed since then, but to the point though, the habitat has entirely changed. What used to live 20 feet in my backyard ain't there no more, period. And I got 12 acres in my backyard. It's supposed to be more or less swamp. There's supposed to be all kinds of critters and things and lichens and mushrooms and all kinds of stuff. Ain't there no more because the weather has changed. So many things have changed. The leaves are falling out of the trees already. Today there was just a light breeze, and it looked like it looked like November. The leaves, the oak leaves, are coming, and they're burnt. These leaves aren't just dying and changing color. The leaves that are falling off these oak trees and these other trees are in my yard are burnt when they hit the ground. They haven't just turned brown, they're black, or blackened, I should say. And it's like, this is the UV, this is the radiation it's hitting the tops of the trees. And thank God I've got this oak tree out here that's helped to shade some of this stuff where I'm living down here under its shade, but to the point though, oh my God, the leaves it's too early. This is the second week of September, and it's already looking like it's the end of October. Something's wrong. Just saying. So whatever's going on, it's here. These are my observations. These are my scientific studies. Yeah, I'm a crazy old hippie from way back. Okay, fine. But the offer still stands. If anybody still made it an hour into this video or has come in late or whatever, if you're on the East Coast and you need to get away and you can't have no place to stay, Southwest Georgia, near Moultrie, Georgia, the little town I live near, it's 6 miles away, but I live near a little town called Meigs, Georgia. Find Meigs, Georgia on the map, and you're within earshot of me, okay? So if you have nowhere else to go and have nothing, come here, we'll figure it out. It's called the Little Ochlockonee River Hermitage. Now, it's not listed like that, but I have a sign out on the highway, and it's clearly seen if you're looking for it. And there's plenty of room here. I got about 7 acres on a hill that doesn't flood very easily. Now, if it rains a lot, water runs downhill. But to the point, though, you can be high and relatively dry, depending. And food, water, I'll at least have water and at least some type of power. So I don't have a generator or anything like that, but I've got batteries and I've got some solar energy, blah, 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 blah. And I've got a lot of camping equipment. So if nothing else, we can camp and share and whatever. And it would beat the hell out of you being in a bombed out situation with no supplies, no electricity, and God knows what else. So if you have no other choice, give me a call, 229-941-5117. I'm extending this out to anyone who listens. And if you're a nasty SOB, then I would prefer that you don't. But if we can share, then that's fine. Now I'm going to read the chat before I go. All right. Oops, let me come back over here. What about HARP? I'm wondering how much of what may be going on may be caused by it is a lot of HARP. Now, HARP, it's weather warfare. It's not just the HARP arrays. It's other things they're using. They're using the radar towers that will literally put a pulse back into the atmosphere. So these big radar dishes and everything, like WCTV down here in South Georgia, WALB in Albany, Georgia, you can literally see these Doppler waves go out, and it affects the storms. I've watched it over the years. Several people have been doing videos about it. So it's not just HARP. That's just the word for it, kind of say. It's more than that. They're using all kinds of other things, but they're using it as a weather modification. So it's not just HARP, just as a thing. Um, Quartz quantum, there's too many things in the atmosphere that show up in the clouds to say that this is a natural phenomenon. Now, I grew up in the 60s and I remember watching radar and all this other stuff. We never saw these patterns in the storms, in the hurricane storms. Never saw the patterns we see in the clouds these days. Okay. People say, "Wow, you don't know what." Yeah, I do. I know what I'm talking about, but I can't show you evidence from the 70s, for example, of what the clouds look like versus what they are now. But you can look at them now, and you can see all the vapor trails. Not, excuse me, the chemtrails. They're not vapor trails all over the place. They're messing with the weather big time. So instead of seeing coverage of the investigated as the hurricane, yep. Aware of what things? Oh man, how many things are you talking about? Dutch Wimp, yeah, I remember that guy. Uh, Dutch knows what he's talking about. Say what you will, the guy's good. And I'm just saying. Yeah, yeah, you took a few rings and someone made him stop real quick. I was disappointed, probably not to blame. I had a literal dream of mountain lions at the door here in northern Michigan. It was unthinkable. Yet I still don't know if I was dreaming. Now I heard that there have been occasional sightings around here, and you're wondering where the lions are. Well, the lion sleeps tonight. Ha ha ha. Animals are up to being steady since thing always looked at the beaver dams to see how high they were to determine how bad winter was going to be. That's a very interesting thing. And there used to be a lot of beavers around here, a lot of otter and so forth, because the water down here in Southwest Georgia has been so messed up. You don't see the beaver and the otter anymore. Not near like you used to. I mean, I've had beaver and otter on my property, and I haven't seen them in 2 years. They're just gone. I wouldn't dream of messing with someone, damn, but yeah, 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 yeah. I've been hearing that the Grand Tetons near Yellowstone have developed a crevice and are predicting an earthquake. Yep, a big one. Wait, went down too far. Been dreaming messing with somebody's dam. Yep. I've been at the Grand Tetons. They say even the animals are leaving the area. Yeah, that the animals can smell it, especially in the Yellowstone area. Now, I've been out in, I've been all the way to the West Coast and down the coast, and then back across through the middle of America and down through Reno and Las Vegas. And anyway, now I've stayed for a little while, and I'm not an expert, but as a naturalist and have explored the East Coast and the Appalachians and out in Arkansas many times in Missouri and traveled around Oklahoma and around, I've seen a decent amount of the United States. Okay. I'm not the perfect one, but I can, as a naturalist, when I drive through an area, I understand it's like a grassland, wetland. Okay. There are certain areas, faunas, groups, and so forth. Okay. So you can see what the habitat is. All right. And I've noticed changes when in all different types of habitats all across the United States. It's not just here, but there are certain things that I'm more aware of because I live here, and it's literally it is my backyard. So it's like I can understand what's going on. Um, but when there isn't any water, when there's plenty of rain, when all of the wildlife disappear. I mean, I've discussed it before, but down here in South Georgia, people used to come. They still come down here, but they don't know. But there are no natural quail anymore. It's been 20 years since I've seen a natural quail in South Georgia. All the quail are pen raised. They're all raised in cages. And so when people come down here to hunt quail, the quail are dumped out that night, the night before the hunt. And then the guides go around and literally kick the quail out of the underbrush so that the rich folks, them northerners, can come down here and carpet bag us and bag a couple of quail. I've videotaped them. I've had told stories about them, and it's absolutely ridiculous. But there are no natural quail anymore. Dove hunting used to be like a really good sport down here, and and I've not seen dove in my area in a long time. I mean, the amount of hawks. There used to be 3 or 4 hawks that I could spot, and I'm talking pairs in my neighborhood that I could see. There's that pair over there. That's that pair over there. They'd get together, and you could hear them and scream and blah blah blah, and they'd go off their different ways. There was a family of hawks that had a huge nest just like 100 feet behind my house. There are no hawks around anymore. There might be one pair of hawks. Like where'd they go? The geese used to fly through here. I mean, where I live is on the north-south path from birds migrating down into St. Mark's, which is a huge wildlife refuge in Florida. It's literally south of me. The geese and all the ducks and everything used to fly over. You could hear them for miles. I haven't heard geese in several years now. And the ones that I have, they fly around in circles. They don't know where to go. I mean, they literally land in my neighbor's pond every once in a while during the spring or the summer, and they squawk and they squawk and they go up and they fly around. And it's almost like you can tell they fly off this way, and then it's like they come back and they go over. They don't even know where to go. So now that could be the magnetics in the earth. But to the point, everything's messed up. What I used to be able to like, every spring, the robins would come through for a day or two. There would be robins everywhere. I don't see robins down here anymore. They're gone. There used to be 5 or 6 pairs of cardinals live in my neighborhood right here, which within an acre or two. There's one pair of cardinals I've seen this year. There used to be pairs of woodpeckers. I've only seen one woodpecker this year. The little tiny ones, the the ladderback, live in these trees right here in my yard. One woodpecker this year. Used to have the great big tall ones that look like Woody Woodpecker. Used to have an entire family live 20 feet behind my house in an old tree. Haven't seen a woodpecker in 15 years. Where'd they go? Where'd all this wildlife go? Used to have they look like bandits, they've got a tail. Raccoons, thank you very much. Used to have raccoons come up in the backyard all the time. I would throw scraps out, keep them out of my chicken pen. I haven't seen coon tracks in a while. I'd set up a little game trail kind of video camera. Haven't seen any raccoons. Where do raccoons go? Well, because all the fish and all the mussels and everything they used to eat out of the river, all of those things have died. They're not there anymore. I used to get fresh mussels out of the river. Aren't there anymore. Used to go fish for crawdads, have a little Cajun crawdad kind of cooking. No crawdads anymore. There used to be 3 different species of crawdads, one of them on the endangered species list, that lived in my river and on the Big Ochlockonee River, which is just a couple miles to the east of me. There aren't any of them over there either. And they used to get great big huge crawdads, big mothers, I'm here to tell you, big ones and tasty too. No crawdads anymore. Where'd they all go? All of the tiny things in the streams have died between the pollution, the not enough water. When it does rain, when the water does run off into the rivers, what the poisons and so forth, all the Roundup and all that kind of stuff that happens down here because I live in an agricultural area. I mean, right now, this time of the year, do you know what they're doing? They are defoliating the cotton. You know what they're using? They're using a spray defoliant out of airplanes and helicopters. And this stuff, it defoliates the cotton and every damn thing else around it. People at this time of the year down here in South Georgia, I mean, they grow cotton right up to like 20 feet from the house and then spray it with an airplane and cover the entire neighborhoods with this defoliant, like an Agent Orange kind of shit, and so you can't get away from it. In my little area, I've got a nice little buffer zone, but when the wind is right and they spray the cotton dust, to defoliate it. I can smell it, can't get away from it. It'll gag me. I can't even go outside. It's like it hangs in the air. And it's like, where am I going to go? I spent my lifetime getting this place to be here, to like live off the land in my old age, to be able to go fishing in the river. There's no fish, there's no river, and now all the natural things that I used to go. I mean, I can't find a sassafras tree down here. I can't find mullein anymore. There are certain other types of broadleafs that used to grow wild on the tree on the fence rows and stuff. All the farmers down here, that buttholes about 15 years ago, everybody went along their fence rows and tore up all the trees. There aren't any wild cherries anymore. There aren't any wild plums anymore. There's nothing for the wildlife to live. They tore up the fence rows. I mean, that's in the old days when I learned about forestry and natural selection and production and so forth. What they said was that, guess what? Fence rows were like the most important thing. And then what these stupid idiots around here do, and other areas of the United States, but specifically down here, they tore out all the trees and everything along the damn fence lines. So there's nothing there. And then they spray 2 or 3 times a year glyphosates. They spray Roundup that gets into the food chain and everything else and kills everything else. So why aren't there any quail? They took away their habitat. Why aren't there any dove? Because they took away their habitat. Why isn't there anything else? There's no rabbits. There used to be 5, 6 rabbits in my yard. The neighbor's yard. You used to be able to see rabbits when you went into town. There are no rabbits. Why? They killed their habitat. The fence rows. When they cleared out the fields, the fence rows were always there. I used to hunt the fence rows. There aren't anything on the fence rows anymore. It's all gone. There's nothing there. In the last 15 years down here in Southwest Georgia, the amount of wildlife that has disappeared and not reappeared in any way, shape, or form is astronomical. We went from plentiful to barely. We went from lots to extinction. We are at extinction level on certain species in South Georgia. And blooming person paying a damn bit of attention to it. Not one person. When I bring it up to the Georgia, whatever, they're like, oh, you're overreacting. Where is your scientific data? Well, even if I had taken a picture of it, even if I had written down, you think they'd believe my silly ass? No, because I don't have a PhD. I'm not a master's degree. I'm just a person who has been watching this for the last 40 years on my property, and it go from abundance to none. But I'm an idiot. I'm a crazy old hippie. Well, that's true. But are my observations true? I dare you. I had friends of mine who said, no, Dave, I can't believe. You're trying to tell me there are no fish in your river? Here, you walk with me. You walk a mile up and down this river, and if you can find a damn minnow, I'll kiss your ass. And I told that to a longtime friend of mine, and we went walking for damn near 2 miles, and we never found not one single minnow on my river. Not one minnow. And that's like the bottom of the chain. No frogs, no nothing, no lizards, nothing living in the banks of the river, nothing. We didn't even see a snake in the swamp. We used to have moccasins. I mean, people would shoot moccasins and hang them on the fence to warn other people. Snakes are crawling. I've killed a rattlesnake right here in my backyard 20 years ago. I haven't seen a snake like that in my yard since then. No moccasins, no rattlesnakes, very few other types of snakes. And snakes are important on a ground level kind of basis. Yeah, I'm on a tirade on about this, but I'm here to tell you, people who think that things are just, everything's just fine. It ain't fine. And I've noticed in other areas, the bird population is so far down. There is just so much stuff that's wrong. Now, did man create it all? Partially. A lot of this has to do with the UVC. I mean, there are a lot of other things going on. Okay, so it's a combination. But I got to tell you, down here in South Georgia, it has to do a crap load with the farmers. I'm sorry, but the farmers down here are redneck assholes. They don't. Oh, yeah, but I put this. Sure, I'm going to use Roundup. You mean you don't use Roundup? Well, hell no. And these people are going to, they would probably, some of the folks down here would literally go to war if you said that they couldn't have Roundup anymore. If you said, regardless of what you say Roundup is, it's carcinogenic, it kills the plants, it kills the frogs, it kills the dust, but it's their freaking crop. And if you're going to take their weed killer away from them, they're going to go to war with you. They will shoot your ass. That's how crazy these folks are. They won't look at it and go, oh, well, why should I leave stuff up along my fence row? What about the rabbits? I don't rabbit hunt anymore. No, well, we just, but that's not the point. The whole ecosystem is out of balance. Now, can it be restored? Yeah. But how are you going to get birds back here when there aren't any birds? I mean, when you screwed up the entire southeast down here in Georgia, southwest Georgia, but I mean in the southeast United States, I've not seen natural quail. Now, they might still have them in Mississippi and Alabama, but down here in South Georgia, they're gone. Even up around Albany, they put so much Roundup and stuff out there, and so many people and so much stuff has gone on. There aren't any natural quail. And we used to be renowned for it. Quail Hollow, Quail Ridge, quail this, quail that. Ain't no natural quail anymore. There's no natural ducks anymore. Used to go down the river and there were wood duck. 3 or 4 wood duck I would scare up out of the, no wood ducks. I mean, the shit's gone. Turkeys, not near as many turkeys as there used to be. Now, they are still here. The turkeys have survived better than any other wildlife up to this point. I saw a deer coming back from the store the other day. I used to have deer walk through my yard out here, okay, literally, because that's where I live, all right? There's no deer tracks. I don't see any deer tracks anymore. Hunters last year, they're like boom, 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 boom. There was very little hunting that went on this last year. Now, we're coming into hunting season now again, but to the point though, I'm surrounded by plantations. They make a living with hunting in the wintertime. That's how a lot of these people, they'll rent out their property for hunting to pay the taxes for the property. That's what happens around here. People, they can't find people to hunt because there's no wildlife. And I don't know where the deer went. They didn't get shot. They didn't get killed. I know a few of them have jumped in front of my truck over the years. And like I say, I saw one coming home from the store the other night. But to the point, I should be seeing deer all the time. They're not here. Why? Because all these other things are gone. Now, the deer gone? No. And there are still areas. But this particular area where I live, because of certain things that have changed, the wildlife has disappeared. Now, you can go 40 miles, 50 miles towards Alabama from here, and the deer are like everywhere. But they don't have the same type of farming practices. They don't have the same type of farming. In fact, it's a lot more sandier over there, and there is less farming, thus less population and more deer, etc. So, but in my area, it's gone. 50 miles west, better off. Okay, 50 miles east, not so good. Just the way it is. But it is happening, and there are other areas that are just, now, my area in Southwest Georgia has nothing to do with the geese from Canada going into Florida. I don't know what's up with that. Just saying. And all the other birds, where are all the robins? I haven't seen a blue jay. I forget what a blue jay looks like, or a blue bird. I mean, all of these little wrens, warblers, little yellow belly sapsucker, none of those birds used to live around here, at least come through twice a year. Not a bird, nothing. I look out there now and it's like, if I can see 1 or 2 cardinals in a day, I'm lucky. And there should be like hundreds. I mean, there aren't any turkey vultures overhead anymore. This summer, usually there's roadkill, there's this, there's that, and and there's turkey buzzards. No turkey buzzards. They used to live in a tree back here. At nighttime, there'd be 6 or 7 turkey buzzards that would come up in this old tree and hang out. Don't know why. They just like the tree. They don't roost there anymore. I don't see them roosting anywhere. And I go outside and look around. Where is the wildlife? It's gone? Don't know. But I know it's changed. I know it's changed big time, or I wouldn't be on this tirade. So anyway, a lot of other stuff. What in the world is given what you were saying about animals disappearing? What kind of world will we live in? We're going to be living in a really different world, Miss Sherry D. I had no idea that there was so many things as GMO grass until a new corporation took over my apartment building, planted grass, and signed to keep off the GMO grass. Absolutely. Absolutely. It is gone. They've gone bat crap, cray cray. I say it on Twitter the other day that all the animals go when humans go too. Well, the animals are leaving now. There are some folks, and I kind of have to like scratch my head and go, did some of these animals, and we've been told that Earth 2.0 is like on the other side of the sun from us right now as we speak, and that those of us who are getting our vibrations and everything up and together are going to be transferred to Earth 2.0. I can't tell you for sure. I can tell you that there are a lot of us who feel like we're living a parallel life at the same time. I know there's a place that I go visit a wife and a child in a place that's like really nice. And it ain't on this planet, it's somewhere else, but it looks a lot like Earth. It feels a lot like Earth, but it ain't. I mean, I can't explain it. Other people are having that same kind of experience. And there are the galactics who are saying that there are those, I say of us, people on planet Earth who have been taken to Earth 2.0 to like check out the vibration, us and the planet, to do a little bit of tweaking. Now, is that real? Can I prove it? Absolutely not. All I can just say is there's been some weird stuff going on in that realm of reality. Now, what does that have to do with the animals? What if some of these animals were already transferred to Earth 2.0? What if they were literally sucked up in a great big giant machine and taken to Earth 2.0, where they can live without all this crap? I don't know. But I know there have been entire blocks of species in my neck of the woods. And I mean, I proud myself as being, I took forestry. I graduated with a 2-year degree in forestry. I know my stuff, especially what I've learned and observed. But to the point, to see whole groups of animals just disappear from down here. I mean, I kind of get it with the quail and how they could slowly go out. But I mean, I had 2 or 3 otter families lived on my river. There are no otters. Where did the otters? Did they just disappear? Did they move south? Did they die? I mean, I don't know, but they disappeared. I mean, one day they were here and the next day they weren't. Now I say that, over a couple of month period, but I would have seen signs. I would have seen dead bodies. I walk the river. I see dead things and, live things, but when you don't see either or, you don't see the dead animals or the live ones, you should see signs of one of nothing there. So it's like, well, so now did these animals go to Earth 2.0? I hope so. If that's a truth, then by golly, I hope so. What is it going to take for this planet to recover? It's going to take a little while. Because the glyphosates and some of this stuff, the only way for it to do, it's going to have to go through and get some of this farmland around here. I don't know if it needs to go fallow for a while. It just needs to not have anybody grow nothing on it. And the defoliant that they spray on the cotton, and it ain't just down here in South Georgia, it's all out west. If there's cotton, they defoliate it, period. In the old days, what did they do? They wait till the leaves fell off, but it was too late in the season. Do you know why they defoliate the cotton? So they can make a better profit. If they wait for the leaves to fall off naturally, then the cotton could get stormed on, rained on, and that would ruin the cotton. So they spray the defoliant, get rid of the leaves as quick as possible. When they harvest the cotton, you can still smell the poison in the cotton. I say this because I worked in a cotton gin. I've got family members and other relatives that work in a cotton gin that's like 8 miles due west of me. I can hear it running in the wintertime late at night. It runs 24/7 until the cotton season's over, and it's like, but you can smell the poison in the cotton, the defoliant, as they do it. Now they bale it and they do all these other things. But the people who work in the cotton industry, they get all kinds of weird respiratory stuff. Well, there's a lot of cotton dust and stuff in the gin and all that and blah, blah, blah. But there are poisons in that cotton dust and in those cotton fibers. And folks are getting, attacked by different illnesses. And nobody's like, oh, well, I know it because 3 people that worked at the same gin came down with similar symptoms. And one of them got so sick, he never returned to the gin. He's on disability probably, or dead. But to the point though, it's like, well, but I look at things and go cause and effect. I look at people who work in this industry and after 5 years, they can't work in the industry anymore from one reason to another. They can't work in the cotton business. They can't do, the guys who spray it. I went to school with a guy who their family were crop dusters. And I used to think, well, crop dusting was really cool, but after 3 or 4 years, he would have to take a test every 3 weeks for certain toxins in his body simply because he was around open containers of the poison that went in the airplanes. And I was like, what? So there are whole areas down here that are so contaminated, they literally should be, Superfund sites. It's all because of agriculture. I don't know. Now, bottom line, I'm going to wrap this up. It's been an hour and a half, and folks complain that I go on too long. That's true. But to wrap this up, the GMO foods, gotta go. I mean, the grasses, it's affected so many plant life forms. It's unbelievable. Now, can things recover? Yes. How? We'll see. If birds aren't killed because of all the poisons and the grasses and things, the birds can recover. It'll take about 5 years for the birds to recover. Now, why do I say birds? Well, birds eat seeds and they drop plants and they start things and blah, blah, blah. If they stop putting poisons out and let nature come back and let the birds come back, the birds will reseed populations of plants that have disappeared around here because of the Roundup, glyphosate, and so forth. They will return. How do I know this? Because every year I find a new plant or something in my field up here. The only way it could have gotten here is either by the wind or by a bird pooping. Okay. No other way that the seeds could have gotten onto my property. It's just the way it is. So, yes, and my father was sold lies by Roundup as a farmer. Now he knows differently. They had him convinced we wouldn't be able to feed enough people without GMOs and Roundup. Absolutely. That's how some of these farmers are around here. I've got friends of mine who are they grow, this is so funny. They put out Roundup and then they say that their vegetables are organically grown. And I literally spit up through my nose. I'm like, what? A friend of mine was like, he gave me, I don't know, several pounds of his fresh potatoes. And I was like, wow, these look really good, And he goes, yeah. He said, I only used a gallon of Roundup. And it was like a gallon of Roundup in a spot that's like 1/4 the size of my whole garden. And I was like, what? And he was like, oh, yeah, I get it every 2 weeks. And I was like, and I ate those potatoes? Holy shit. Nothing else grows in that spot. But he was like, he was an organic gardener. And he was like, well, Roundup's okay. And I was like, no. Anyway, so a lot of people have been fooled about this. I hope the animal's quartz has been transferred to the new earth. I got my fingers crossed. Some people say animals are going through ascension symptoms too. They are. I mean, how can I explain? The wild animals that I have run across recently, I don't know if you've ever been in the woods and like, I just like to go and just hide just to see what wildlife goes by, just to observe, not to shoot, maybe take a picture, but whenever you see a deer walk into a clearing and stop and look around and then spot you in a little hidey hole and look at you dead in your eye and know, because when the deer is looking at you, not looking towards or something, but looking at you. When any critter, I mean, I run across all different kinds of critters and stuff, but anyway, they look at you right in your eye, you've made eye contact. Well, so in saying that, there is a connection. Now the animal can fear you and run off, make that eye contact, they're gone. Now, if your vibration is such that the animal goes back to feeding or walks off, then that your vibration is with them. And I'm proud to say that 90% of the time, the animals will just walk through or walk on or something like that. So I'm very proud. But I spent a lot of years making sure that my energy was correct, and doing these other things. But so in saying that the animals are going through an ascension, there's something about the wild animals now, and animals in general. I mean, I got 13 chickens that I feed every day, and there's something about the chickens. I mean, they went from all of the chickens laying at least 2 or 3 eggs a week, at least. None of them laid for almost a month. I mean, they're different ages, so they should never, ever have all stopped laying at the same time, because they're 3 here, 4 here, 3 here, blah, 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 to get 13 chickens. So they're of different ages, so that some would quit laying where other would. To have all of these chickens of 4 different kinds of breeds all quit laying for a month. They just started laying again about a week ago. And I'm only getting 2 or 3 eggs every other day. But that's okay. That's not my point. They're my chickens. They're my friends. They're my girls. I'm going to feed them anyway. And, and if I get a couple of eggs a week, I'm better off, because I know where my eggs come from. My girls gave me my eggs, But to the point, though, there's something different about the chickens. And I really can't put my finger on it, but it's different. And maybe it's me. Maybe it's the combination. Maybe I'm changed. Well, I know I've changed. But to the point, though, I mean, my chickens is they react to me differently. And some of them, one of them pecked my hand, hurt me. And I was like, what the hell's going on? I don't ever hurt my chickens. I feed them by hand. I go out and I give them water. I'm always kind to my chickens. But this one was got nasty with me. And I had, she came after me and I had to give her a boot in the butt and say, cut this out. What's wrong with you? It's wow, okay. But to the point, even my habituated, and people have said I got a Cadillac. I got a lot of room for my chickens. They have plenty of room to spread out. Now, I can't let them loose in the yard because there are too many other critters that would eat them. So I have to keep them penned because of other critters, not because I wish to keep them penned. But anyway, so a big change. Everything's weird, The amount of weeds in my garden this year. I went through my garden these last 2 years, and I pulled every single weed. I didn't turn them under. I didn't use a thing. I pulled them all because I didn't want any seeds. or anything to be left in my garden. Organic garden, no we there are 100 times more weeds in my garden right now than were there in the last 10 years put together. And I'm like, what? Now I use chicken manure. I use, different things. I use grass and grass clippings, and I organic garden. I've been organic gardening since the '80s. Okay, back before it was really fashionable. But to the point though, I just knew, I saw the old timers grow their gardens down here in the South, and I just mimicked them. I use this thing, I use manure, I use horse manure, chicken manure, blah, 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 goat manure, whatever it was, cows, add it to my garden. But now there are so many weeds of different types that I'm not even seeing. I'm like, how in the hell do you get in my garden in the first place? I don't transport other things in my garden anymore. I get it from I got plenty of chicken manure, and it's the best fertilizer. So it's like, I don't have to buy any. I don't have to get anything from it. Where are all these weeds coming from? And I mean, eat up with weeds to the point where I'm just now going, what am I going to do for I should be planting my fall garden now. And I can't even get rid of the weeds, What am I going to do? Okay, I'll get by it. But to the point, though, it's the strangest thing. This year, like last year, there were a few weeds, but now I can't see the ground. It's just unbelievably covered in less than 2 months, by the way. So I'm going to wrap this up. It's been an hour 41. And Sherry D, Quartz Quantum, and I don't know who else might be here. Tinfoil Hatter, I love you, brother. And anybody else that might be hanging out still. I understand that there are so many things that are changing. I'm afraid that it says the current EPA and other watchdog organizations that favor corporations. Now, Trump has done some things about EPA, and some of them are good. Some of them I'm questioning a little bit, but there are too many regulations. You could narrow them down and chop up a bunch of stuff. And yes, they got to get rid of the corporations. Monsanto's been in charge since the 60s, if not the 50s. And these guys came over with Project Paperclip from the Nazis, okay? These guys that do Monsanto got a really nasty why they want to do what they do. Quartz, you say humanity could stop messing with the ecosystem. It affects plants too. It's affecting everything. It's affecting the microbiology. I mean, a good friend of mine literally was a biologist, okay, and he worked with different companies as far as waste treatment. I mean, nasty chemicals. And I've worked with him over the years, and I've worked CAD, and I've been on job sites with him, and looked under the microscopes, the whole 9 yards. And there are things that on a microbial level that used to be like everywhere. It ain't. It doesn't exist anymore. Hello, Marie, back again. And so there are all these, there are readers saying young women's menstrual cycles are changing too. Perhaps it affects the hens too. It does. Now, I know, the dog days of summer and all that kind of thing. But the thing is that even in the past, I would get 1 or 2 eggs a week, even in their lull time. And I understand it is too damn hot to lay an egg. But for 13 chickens to all quit laying for a month, that's unprecedented in my world. And I mean, I've been raising chickens for 30 years, okay? I've had a few chickens, a lot of chickens, but to the point, I've never had a dry spell go through a full month. Now, could that be the high intensity of UVC that hit us over the summertime? Very could be. Are these UVC affecting menstrual cycles of all different kinds of animals? I would say so. Why are there no birds? Well, I think it's very simple. It's because between the glyphosates, the GMO seeds and so forth, that has infected the natural organisms around. The birds that eat them are making their shells soft, and they can't make babies. Their genetics have changed. There used to be all kinds of little birds around here. I mean, I have tree lines on purpose. I put out small things for little tiny birds to build nests, and they're just not here. They are not. 3 or 4 years ago, I remarked, I said, when was the last time I saw a robin? I haven't seen a robin since. And that's been 7 or 8 years ago. That was like about 2007 or 8. That's been 10 years ago, hasn't it? Okay, but since then, the bird population is just. And I live under a flight line going to St. Marks, Florida, where all the birds winter over for the Florida. Migrating geese and birds and, the tick birds, what they call them, cow tick birds. They look like storks, but anyway, a lot of them, there used to be a lot of them in Florida. I guess they are still, but they look like storks and things like that. None. They're not around here anymore. They used to be like on the sides of the road. Red-winged blackbirds, little areas. They're used kingfishers, little small birds, long beaks go fishing in the water. There aren't any minnows. So guess what? The kingfishers have nothing to live on. So the glyphosates have made it into the ponds, made it into the rivers, killed off all the small plankton, all the things that the minnows used to eat. The minnows aren't there, so the kingfishers are gone. The things that, the whole ecosystem's trash. Now, is it like that everywhere? It may not be as bad as it is here, but like I say, we've heavy agriculture, heavy cotton, heavy poisons, and it didn't used to be this bad. But the old timers died. The folks that are, I don't know, in their 40s and 50s, who were, the young, I would say like my kids' age, they were brought up on Roundup. They were brought up on, these new seeds. They were brought up on all the, well, you grow this kind of corn or this kind of cut. This is what the state of Georgia recommends. And the state of Georgia is probably as guilty as some of the companies, because the state of Georgia, the ag department, I say they've sold out to Monsanto. They've sold out to some of these seed companies, because where the state of Georgia, as a huge agricultural center, etc. I mean, Colquitt County grows a tremendous amount of cabbage in the wintertime around here. But you should see the amount of poison they put on that same cabbage. Acres and acres and acres of cabbage. Unbelievable. I mean, they're at one time, Colquitt County supplied a third of the state's cabbage production. One county, this county, a third of the entire state's production. And the state of Georgia produced I couldn't believe how many tons of cabbage we produced. We still do. But to the point, though, they've used so many poisons over the years and such that's affected all the wildlife around it, what used to live near it. I mean, they go in after they pick up all the whatever I just called them. Not lettuce, cabbage. Thank you very much. But the cabbage, they go in and put some kind of a poison down and into the ground, and they block off these huge fields. I mean, like 10, 20, 30, as much as 50 acres worth, okay? Huge fields of cabbage. And they will put poisons into the field after the cabbage, and huge signs, no one allowed, danger, poison. I mean, they put up these things, and it's to kill anything and everything that may have survived after the cabbage. And it's like, what? Yeah, you're not supposed to go into the field for a week to 10 days afterwards. I mean, there are Mexican workers, there are a lot of Mexican workers around here, have been for years, that are, migrant workers. And these folks are they're getting poisoned because they're put back into the field too soon to, plant the next thing, blah, 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 blah. And nothing's ever said. And I believe one of the reasons why they shh about it is they let the Mexicans come in to get poisoned from the things that they're doing in these agricultural areas. It's horrible. It's horrible. And it's like, okay, there you go. Have a good day. More poisons, more this. And it's like, they've got to stop this. But if they stop it, and all they got to do is quit using Roundup, Let the weeds grow back up in the damn, thing. Quit tearing the trees down, on the fence rows. Quit doing these certain things, which they taught 100 years ago. During the Dust Bowl, what did they find out in Georgia? The little Grand Canyon, an area up in there, that's where they learned how to contour plow because they weren't plowing, and it literally has ripped huge, tore the clay away and everything. Unbelievable. So we have known about soil conservation for 100 years, and they're not practicing it. They're not practicing common sense soil conservation that they knew back in the 30s. Didn't. No idea. Now, why would they throw that out? It worked for a long time. Oh, new farming practices. Oh, new poisons. Oh, new this. New that. No rabbits. No quail. No dove. No robins. No all gone. So, we need to go back to some of the old things. Contour plowing is great. Now, folks still contour plow, but to the point, though, they're not doing much else as far as, keeping up the wildlife in the areas. And the wildlife would eat the bugs. And so, I mean, there are so many things that go back down through this that if there were more birds, there would be fewer bugs. I mean, anyway. So, but I do think Mother Earth can replenish herself. We got to get these idiots off of it first, though. And I don't know where they're going. Now, I've been told for a long time I'm still going to be one of the ugly mothers left on planet 1. I get to go visit 2.0, but I don't get to go. In my soul contract, I'm supposed to be here to help this Mother Earth get back. I know it's going to be a chore. So just having a conversation with y'all and anybody else who might listen to this at some other point, okie dokie, maybe. But to the point, they know up yonder where my heart is. They know what my frequency is. They know the knowledge that I've obtained with my observations for the last 50 years. And so it's very simple. I would be willing to stay here and repopulate planet Earth with all of the good things, all of the old stuff that used to grow here to help create habitats for birds and etc. I mean, there used to be alligators in my river. I'm 3, 4, 5 footers, good sized gators. No gators, no nothing. There used to be terrapins, this big around. I'm not joking. That would weigh 50, 60 pounds. Humongous turtles. Not there anymore. Not there. Gone. I mean, ancient turtles that literally 150 years old, dead, gone. No more habitat. No more nothing. And the poisons in the water and the not enough water. And so there are ancient loggerhead turtles down here in the south that have been down in these swamps for literally centuries. Gone. Nothing to live. It's going to take a while for that stuff to heal. But now, can it happen? Absolutely. But we got to stop. And it's got to, it can't just slow down. It's got to stop. Whoever's creating Roundup, they need to shut the doors. And I'm sorry, give every worker free medical, dental, or whatever, and give them money for the rest of their lives to quit. Managers, the whole mess, out. Stop it. Shut the doors. No more production. No more sales. No more nothing. Anything that's left on the shelves. I was in Home Depot picking up something the other day, and there was like a whole row of nothing but Roundup. And like 2 shelves of different kinds of weed killers and poisons and stuff. And I was like, Home Depot should be sued for selling a known carcinogen. Lowe's should be sued for them selling a known. If we started with like Home Depot and said, if you sell another if one more Home Depot sells another bottle of Roundup in any way, shape, should be sued. Because they should know. And if they willingly, Monsanto, okay, they've made it, but who's selling this? So their seller should be responsible. What about these big ag corporations? I mean, the state of Georgia has trucks with thousands of gallons of Roundup on the truck, and they spray it on the sides of the road 2 or 3 times a year, all over the state of Georgia to keep the weeds down on the side of the road. If it's a state highway, it's been sprayed at least once every single year. I bet you 1,000,000 gallons of Roundup has been sprayed in the state of Georgia in the last 5 years. I have tried to look it up, but it's a little sketchy in the act because it falls under agriculture and then the state road department and then it falls under this and that. But the state of Georgia has purchased a crap load of this and sprayed it on the entire state, all over. So is the state of Georgia one of the smartest places? No. Even Alabama's got more sense than that. I'm just saying, Georgia's supposed to be smarter than the Alabama and smarter than Mississippi as Southerners go. Nah, the folks in Mississippi and Alabama got us hands down over the state of Georgia because them folks said no. The state of Georgia, money. The guys in the state capitol, money. The guys who run the State Department, all money. They don't give a crap. Spray it on the sides of the road, keep the weeds down, give a crap about the fact that there are no, that the infrastructure and the ecology has been damaged so bad. So we have idiots in office and they need to go. What's even worse, though, there are people, quote, in the deep state who've worked for the road department for 30 years, and that's what they think. And so they're the ones that making the decision. So it's not the representative because the representative don't know. Now, when you make the representative know about it, the big money don't back them, so they lose the next time out. It's sad. But if they close the doors on Monsanto, if not another drop of that shit could ever get sold again, everything else will change. So how do we stop this? We stop it at the company. We stop Monsanto. We stop Roundup. Because if it doesn't get delivered to anywhere else, no one else can go, well, I thought it was okay. They can't make up a story. If they stop producing it, lots of things will come back to normal, but they got to stop. So, how do we fix this? Number one, GMO foods. That folks are already bitching about that. The new stuff out about the glyphosates and the Roundup, heavy duty hitters right now. We all need to band together on this, my friends, and say, no more Roundup. Stop making it, stop producing it, stop delivering it now. Not tomorrow, not the next day. Can we do something about it? You damn right we can. We can bring it up to other people. We can have this conversation. We can do a thing. You know what? Don't buy Roundup. Don't buy from Monsanto. If they continue to do this, and the poisons are showing up in everything. So this is how we change it. Oh, so you used to do bush regeneration. That's wonderful, Marie. There are things that, I've tried. I have brought things back onto my property. But the thing is that when the overspray from the cotton dust, from the defoliant hits my property, it kills other things. So they're spraying this stuff. I can't get away from it. Now, if they quit spraying cotton defoliant, then these other things will come back naturally. The birds will come back more naturally. It will. It will take a while, but if they maintain what they're doing, it will not change. They have to stop the poison at the source. Let whatever's on the shelves get run out, but shoot whoever tries to make another drop of that stuff. Yeah, I'm breathing it in too. I mean, I literally in the wintertime, I mean, from now until December, usually middle of November, but the overspray from the cotton defoliant, I literally, if I go outside at the right times, you can see the particles drifting out of the atmosphere. And it's not just the the chemtrail. These are chemtrails from here. I'm right into town, cotton fields on both sides. If they sprayed, I will literally, in less than a half a mile, be coughing, regurgitating, sometimes, depending on how strong it is, will literally bleed out my nose. And now the state of Georgia has okayed this for all of its inhabitants. So if you live in the state of Georgia, it's okay for an airplane to fly over you and dump out toxic chemicals to defoliate the cotton for the farmers. And you ain't got a shit chance in hell. Open up your mouth. I know I did several years ago. Oh, bitch, 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 bitch about cotton and defoliant. Well, the companies changed the formula slightly so you can't smell it as bad, but it still is the same harmful. If it's going to make leaves fall off a tree or something, whatever, is it good for the rest of us? Hell no. So, I mean, anything they spray is not good. I'm sorry. Oh, well, this is less toxic than that, but it's still toxic. Well, no, it's not. It is. I went into the studies. I worked with somebody from the state of Florida who was in Tallahassee, who it was her job to like study these things. And we went into it. I mean, like she was trying to tell me, and she was like a naturalist. And she was like, oh, no, this stuff's even better. How can you tell me that any chemical that makes a leaf fall off of anything is a good chemical? I'm sorry. I don't care. I don't give a damn if it's ammonia that could do the same thing. I don't care if it's chlor, whatever it is. It ain't natural. You're spraying it in an environment over a large area, and you're expecting animals, vegetables, and people, all of us, to breathe this, ingest it, and oh, it's safe. Well, it says so in the chemical analysis. It's less. It's chemical. It's made. It's not natural, and it's sprayed out of airplanes on top of all of us, and I can't stop it. I can't move now. I'm too old. Don't have any money. Who wants to, if they heard what's going on down there, nobody wants to buy this little plea. And I never get what I got into it anyway. So I'm stuck here. But at the same point, I understand though that there are people who are starting to get it. People are going, you know what? Nah, Roundup, we got to stop this. But until they quit making it, somebody's going to buy it and somebody's going to use it. So be loved, be sweet, be kind, Marie, Sherry D, Tinfoil Hatter. If I understand it correctly, organic food won't grow on ground that has been treated with Roundup that stays in the ground for some time. Yes, I have heard that. And for the times that it's used, for those folks who started low till, no till in the agricultural business, and I've been around and I was in with it, back in the day. And I still propose it in that what they used to do is they used to take a turning plow and literally go 2 foot down and turn the ground up. Okay. Now that's good up to a point, but they were doing it like the idea was to flip the land so much that any seeds, weeds, or whatever would be literally flipped up and put below the ground, and you bring the better soil to the top. Now, in organic gardening, it's called like French digging. You dig one shovelful down and put it off to the side. You dig the second shovelful down and you put it off to the other side. You put the first shovel that you took out and put it in the bottom of the hole and the second one on the top. Anyway, that's organic gardeners have been doing this to keep the organics in the land shuffled in your rows or whatever. Okay. So now that's good up to a point. But the thing is that when they started using Roundup, that when they did the flip flop, they were taking all that poison in the top, 6 inches and putting it down in the bottom. Well, then when they came back in the fall and they flipped it again, they brought that poison back up to the top. So they've been taking this poison and flip flopping it. Well, then they went from, okay, we're not gonna deep plow anymore, or what they call a turning plow. We're just gonna harrow the land. Okay, the disc, big disc. Okay, so they go through the fields and they harrow it up, and depending on the harrow, it does a really good job. But it usually only goes about maybe a foot, maybe. Okay, so sometimes only 10 inches, but to the point, it mixes it up really good. Well, now guess what? If they use the same amount of Roundup, it's not getting doubled down. It's staying in the top foot of the soil. So now, after all these years of just harrowing instead of deep plowing, because it costs too much to deep plow and then this other, now what's happening is that, especially when we went through a 5-year drought where there wasn't enough rain, the concentration of these chemicals in the top foots, the top 12 inches of soil is astronomical because it can't go anywhere. There hasn't been enough rain. It hasn't run off. It hasn't been underplowed. It hasn't, been consumed or, evaporated or whatever into the soil around it. And so it's still there. So even though it's still there, the weeds are worse. So the weeds are becoming used to, because the seeds and the chemical is now living together in that 12 inches of soil, where at least it used to get flipped up real deep. Now the seeds are like wintering over in the chemical. So now the weed seeds are getting used to the chemical. So it takes more chemical to kill the same weeds because the weeds are becoming resistant. Why? Farming practice, too much, what I just explained. So what used to take care of some of it, now, because I understand, should you double plow and all this stuff? No, it costs more money and it makes your price go up and etc. Is it good for the land? Well, maybe it's better for the land than using, 20,000 gallons of Roundup on your property. Use that, then just buy gasoline and okay, then plow your field twice. But see, they traded plowing, deep plowing, for the weed killer. It cost them just as much on the same amount of property. They haven't gained a damn dime, except they don't have to spend twice as much time in the field plowing. That's the deal. Well, I cut my plowing in half, but your costs are the same. And you added a chemical that you didn't have before. And now the cotton down here in Southwest Georgia, believe it or not, used to have really nice long cotton fibers. Now, because of some of the stunted growth, the cotton that they have that grows down here is a real short fiber. They can't sell it. They can't sell it for clothes. So the cotton prices down here in South Georgia, because of their farming practices, have killed the cotton itself. The fibers aren't long enough. So what would have been used for clothing is now only good enough to go in medicine bottles. Now goes in cotton things of other stuff, stuffings and blah, blah, blah. So you don't get the quality of cotton is less, so the farmers don't get as much. So therefore they need more yield, because you're not going to get as much for a cotton ball as you are for cotton to go in clothing. They keep shooting themselves in the foot. And I know that I have relatives who work, in-law type relatives that still work at this gin over here at Meg's. I know about this stuff. Every year it comes up and I have this conversation. How's things going? Blah, blah, blah. What's the cotton season like? And they always say the same. Well, the cotton, the fiber's short and, blah, 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 and JoJo and blah, blah, blah. And then we had this and that, and then the boll weevils, and they're not any better off. But the land is worse. All the ecosystem is shot. And it's all because of poor agricultural. What are you going to tell them? They're a bunch of ignorant rednecks. They think, some of these people have gone to 4-year college at the university, learning this stuff. But they learned how to use poison. They learned how to use Monsanto. They learned these new practices on how to crap the land instead of keep the land. So that's where we are. I think we can fix it. I hope we can fix it. Even if you Americans have problems with keeping the labels on tins real, not knowing what's been used as ingredients is wrong. Marie, you are so right. And it's like, they say that, cotton has been washed and this and that and the other things, but I've seen people put brand new clothes on that break out in hives, that come up with an itchy something and they don't know what it is. And I've told folks, never put on it. If you buy clothing from the store, wash it twice. And they go, well, why? Well, um, because of the stuff they number one that goes in the cotton when they spray the cotton and the defoliant. Do you think they get all that poison out? Absolutely not. It goes right down into the cotton ball and it sits there and soaks for days. It takes a week for the leaves to fall off. So all that defoliant sucks into the cotton. Duh. Do they wash the cotton and all that? You think they get it all out? No. People are sensitive to some of this stuff. So you put on a brand new long sleeve shirt or something and you start itching and you can't figure out why. What if the contaminant of the cotton is the defoliant and of all the other nobody asked that question, you know. But we're putting on cotton clothes, this, that, and the other thing that has been literally soaked in chemicals for weeks. Meaning if it's for the boll weaver or whatever. So these poisons stick in the cotton. Why? Because I've worked in the cotton gins and you can smell it in the cotton when it's being processed. You can smell it when it's come through the gin. You can smell it when it comes into the baler. You can smell it when you take it to the warehouse. You can smell this chemical residual. And then they pack it in a 400 to 800 pound, rectangle. And that cotton stays packed like that with those residual chemicals in them until the cotton is sold and then goes to whatever distributor who's going to use that cotton. So all that poison gets to cook in the inside of that bale. It stays in there. Doesn't come out. Doesn't get washed. It gets separated. It goes to the gin. It gets the trash out. But the chemicals doesn't get washed out of that bale of cotton. It sits there and cooks. Now, what's it doing while it's sitting there cooking inside that bale? And these bales are huge, 2, 3, 4, 500, depending. Some of these bales weigh as much as 800 pounds. Okay. So you get a huge bale of stuff packed deep cotton, and you're trying to tell me that the inside of this bale, that chemical is going to disperse on its own. Bullshit. I don't think so. So, lots of things to consider. Why are we getting skin cancer? Why are these things? Well, if you don't know what the process is, if you don't know what all goes in them, like, okay, for the foods, so it was organic food. Well, what if, for example, somebody bought a farm, and the farmer didn't tell them, but 2 years before they started their organic farming or whatever of growing vegetable, that there was 15 years of Roundup put on a field. So, but you go to the field, everything looks normal, and you can't really smell it or anything. You do a little thinking, you look at the soil, blah, 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 and then you start growing, and then you want to sell it. Well, then you have trouble growing things. Well, wait a minute though. But your intent is, but you don't know what the guy did before you. So you buy this piece of property thinking everything's groovy. It's been laid fallow for a couple of years, but you don't know what happened before that time. You don't know what was put in the ground. Now I do. When I bought my piece of property, I knew what they grew on this property for 4 years before I bought this property. And wheat was put on this property, and very little, if any, kind of weed killer or whatever, because I knew the guy I bought it from. And I asked him, and he was a back-to-earther, Mother Earth news kind of guy, old hippie kind of dude, such. Anyway, and he didn't want to put any kind of Roundup on this farm when I bought my property. So I know. But now I don't know what happened before he bought it and who put it on it before then. So, but I'm not using it as a farm. I've got a small garden area and I've tended it. Now, to the point, though, the other people who have good intentions, but they don't know what was put in the soil, how many times over how many years, and who knows? There are farmers around here that grew tobacco. Well, there was a lot of tobacco worms and this and that and la da da, and there was a lot of nasty poisons that was sprayed on tobacco in the day that got into the soil. Well, I was really glad to see some of that go, but I would much rather have the tobacco back than what they do to the cotton. I had no idea they were going to go into aerial spraying of defoliant. Please bring, the tobacco back. Anyway, so you'll have to strip the soil raw and allow it to regenerate, but impossible after Roundup because there be no nutrients left in the ground. Absolutely. The only way to build up the ground is to let it go fallow, harrow it, let it go fallow, harrow it. In other words, just plant some ryegrass, simple. And it needs about 4 or 5 years at least. And it also needs a decent amount of rain to try to break it up. Grow your own, make your own compost, mulch your ground. See, that's what I do, Marie. Clover has nitrogen, so it's a good companion plant for plants that feed on nitrogen. Absolutely. See, now a lot of these farmers down here, and some of them still do, but they'll plant peanuts in a field, okay? Well, after the peanuts are grown, which is nitrogen and other things, but they also deplete a lot of stuff, and they'll go back through, they'll dig up the peanuts, dry them, then they'll come back in and they'll combine them, and then after they combine the peanuts, they'll take the peanut stalks and the hulks and all that kind of stuff, and then they'll turn it under with a harrow. And some of these farms, I mean, they got one guy that's they'll have a trailer for the peanuts to go in. They'll have the combine going right beside the trailer. The combine shuns it right into the trailer, and right behind the combine is a tractor with a harrow. So as soon as they combine them peanuts, the peanut scraps and everything are being turned into the soil. Now, not very deep, but they're being turned in. So they can't blow away or turn into dust or whatever, and it gets turned into the soil. So as they're combining, they mulch it right in. A lot of these, I mean, over towards Donaldsonville, which is on the almost the Georgia, Alabama, they've got 1,000 acres of peanuts that you watch these combines, and there'll be 2 or 3 combines, 2 or 3 harrows, trucks all over the place. That's during peanut harvest season, which is about now. Yeah, I love gardening too, except I just don't know what's been going on these last 3 years. Certain things just refuse to grow, and I know it ain't my dirt. At least it shouldn't be. But anyway, so but the biggest problem we have with gardening now is the UVC. In other words, the radiation coming off of the sun and the universe. That's killing trees. The leaves are already falling off earlier, as I stated earlier, and it's keeping some plants from growing at all. Now, the galactics have been telling us for the last good year and a half now that we need to start growing indoors. We need to, sure enough, lights, indoor gardening. And I started this last spring. Summertime came, knocked me down. But it's cooling off. It's September again, and I'm right back in it. So I've got a couple of projects that I'm working on, and indoor planting, greenhouses, protection from other things, outside stimuli is going to be the only way we make it through this Maunder minimum, which is the lower solar activity, the wrong kind. I mean, the sun's blue. It's bluish white. It's not yellow anymore. It's not orange. It's the wrong frequency. Plants don't like this frequency. And in order to get the right frequency, we need to be using grow lights so we can manipulate the correct, just like growing pot in the old days. Well, they still do, but I mean, I grew pot back before they had grow lights and all this stuff. But we learned about fluorescent lights, that certain fluorescent lights gave out certain Kelvin, and black lights would give out ultraviolet. And so you mix the bulbs, and that we grew excellent weed before it was even popular of growing your own weed indoors back in the day. I'm talking in the 80s that I was growing weed indoors for my own personal use. But to the point, I learned a lot about indoor growing and about nutrients and this and that, blah, 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 blah. Well, the same holds true. What's happened with the sun is that it's not giving off all the different correct frequencies for plants to mature, ripen, and etc. And so in order for us to grow vegetables the way they should be, we have to get the right light spectrums. We've got to get more oranges and reds and stay out of the blues and the whites, okay, as far as the frequencies. And there's a lot of information out there about it and so forth. But to the point, the sun isn't acting right. And that's having a big effect on a lot of home gardeners. I mean, I speak to garden folks when I go in the garden department, and I go into the feed store, and I'm always talking it up. How's your garden? Man, I'm not good. There are people who swear they're not going to plant a garden next year. They said it's not worth it. I spent $100 and I did this, 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 and this. I spent all my time out in the yard, and all I got for it was weeds. I didn't get any squash. I didn't get any cucumbers. The radishes turned out bad, and insects ate my potatoes. I mean, I hear that so much lately. It's like nobody wants to grow their own, and it's like, what? And I mean, a bunch of people. I hang out in the feed store, on the week, on a Friday, Saturday, Saturday morning, and talk to the farmers, listen to them coming in. And they're going, man, and it's like these people have been growing gardens as long as I have, 40, 50 years. And it's like, duh, why ain't stuff growing? And all the farmers like scratching their head. And I'm going, I can tell you, because I've been studying the UV and all this and and because I don't use weed killers, so I can tell, I can scrap a lot of what could be somebody else's problem. But when somebody says, well, I organic garden and I don't use this and blah, 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 blah. Oh, well, could be the UVC, could be the UVA and B, could be the wrong color of the sun. And the galactics and other folks are saying, I mean, even some PhDs and so forth, Dr. Richard Miller, for example, he's been saying for the last 2 years, we got to start growing indoors. We got to start growing indoors. And we can do so hydroponically, all these different ways. It's really not that hard. And it's not that hard to find out, do a little research about the right amounts of, the different types of wavelengths that the plants need in order to bud and bloom and all these other kind of things. And, you can even take corn, and when they're testing corn and growing different types, you can take the tops and you can get a paper bag if you can find one, and knock all the dust off of them, and then you can take an ear of corn and with a toothbrush or a paintbrush, and you can paint it on, or you can take the ear of corn and dump it into the plastic bag or the paper bag and fertilize the corn yourself. I mean, there's so many different things you can do on a personal basis, and you can still have this wonderful organic, but it's going to have to be grown at least partially with artificial lighting. It's the only way it's going to happen. Now, that's them telling us, but the people who have started going into growing internally, they're using a greenhouse, but they're supplementing the light in the evening with fluorescence and different colors of LED types and things like that. And it has to do with the fact that they're using the sun, but the sun isn't giving all the correct rays, and they're supplementing in the evenings and early morning, late night, stuff like that. And they're having a longer growth cycle, and they're having tremendous results with the vegetables, and they're controlling the insects better and mice and so forth. So we can save the planet, but we're going to have to change the way we do things. Just absolutely bottom line, we got to change the norm. The norm, which was good 20 years ago, has gotten out of whack, gone back crap, cray, cray. We need to rein it back in, shut these corporations down, and let us organic gardeners go back to what we do best and allow people to have victory gardens. I mean, there are places in some residential neighborhoods, they will have you arrested if you plant a vegetable in your yard. I mean, down here they have ornamental cabbage. Well, you can grow anything ornamental as a flower or whatever, but, echinacea is coneflower and, okay. And different things. I mean, you can eat parsley and it looks like a thing. So, but the thing is there are people who they won't allow you to grow food. That's got to stop too. I mean, what? Now, if you live in a neighborhood that's what their rules are, that's your fault or their fault, I guess. Move, get yourself out of the situation. There are places, you hear the stories on YouTube. They hang out an American flag or whatever, I mean, there were some folks who'd moved to the United States, for example, but I want to say they were Austrian and there's been some folks that I've met down here in South Georgia who are from Australia, for example. There are a few Brits that I know that have moved down here. So, but they're Americans, but they still, like the Mexicans, are folks who are truly Americans, but they still love their Mexican heritage. I see nothing wrong with that. Nothing. That's perfectly fine. But now when they want to burn the American flag and say the Mexican flag is better, I got an issue with that. But most of the folks don't. They'll hang both flags, but there are neighborhoods that won't allow you to have any flags. So those are the kinds of neighborhoods. But to the point, though, those neighborhoods won't allow you to grow lettuce in your front yard and you're in a flower bed. I mean, it's gotten ridiculous. So laws and rules and rules and laws. If we stop manufacturing, start at the top, start getting rid of these people and change it. Until, like, for example, until I can get the state of Georgia to quit spraying 1 million gallons over the entire state in the course of a couple of years, the wildlife ain't coming back until they can stop what they do. And I can't go up there and shoot them because it goes so deep. Who's buying the stuff? Who requisitions it? You got to go. And he's not even an elected official. He's been working there 30 years. He's part of the deep state. Not necessarily the bad guys, but he's had a 30-year job working for the State Department. And so therefore it's a civil service job. And, for the last 30 years, he's been buying Monsanto Roundup. And what's going to convince him to stop it? Nothing. Unless someone tells him to stop buying it, or unless they take his funding, or you know what I'm saying? So it's got to come from somewhere. But when I see the trucks driving up and down the roads down here in Georgia, I want to shoot the driver. But he needs a job too, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't want to kill him, but I would like to maim him enough to hey, pick another job. But I wish I had enough money. I'd say, here, give me the keys to your vehicle. Here's $50,000. Go find something else to do. Take a vacation for a year, get out of the truck. And then, and I would drive it to the state capitol and park it on the governor's lawn and say, here, dump it out on his lawn, see how he likes it. But to the point, that would be my what I would do. But these idiots in the state of Georgia and other states, until we can change their opinion, and they're all backed by big money, none of this is going to change. But the earth can recover. I keep going back to that. The earth can recover. But still, it's desert, not a place where cattle should live. They have the nomadic creatures. Wait, I missed something. The government, on one hand, wants to get rid of the cattle due to greenhouse, so it's done a little to help the farmers. But Australians pushed them to do something, so finally sent a hay run. But still, it's desert, not a place where cattle should live. But now they domesticated them and not allow natural rotation of cycles. Absolutely. And there are other things rather than just cattle. There are certain breeds of cattle that do well in dry situations. But to the other part of that, there are other things that can be done. Does it have to be cattle? Could it be goats? Could it be sheep? Could it be another type of animal that isn't as harsh to the environment that requires? But that's just another part of thinking. I knew an herbalist who used to send her kids out to pick dandelions of salad in the spring, and neighbors thought she was crazy. She didn't spray her yard for dandelions, and neighbors were irritated. Yeah, exactly. The herbalist said dandelions clean out the liver and isn't bitter unless it develops a bud. My ancestors are reindeer herders, so we lived in a nomadic life due to cycles in nature. So it's lost in ancestry to domestic lifestyle. You hit the dislike button. Well, okay, Quantum. Um, well, see, one of the things that down here is like after they got done with the field, say with the when they get done with the peanut fields, what they'll do is they'll put ryegrass in for the winter, and then they'll turn the cows loose into the field that grew um, peanuts that year. So some of the folks around here, they'll have fields, they rotate their crops the way they're supposed to. I mean, there are some farmers who do this right, but there are a lot of them. I mean, for the last 15 years, the only crop that's been grown in particular fields is cotton. And they haven't let every single year for 15 years. I can go up and around the curve up here on the road, and there's a big field across the hill, across the street over there. It's like, I don't know, maybe 70, 80, it could be as much as 100 acres. That 100 acres has only been planted in cotton, nothing else for the last 15 years. Nothing else. They don't plow it under, they don't put a ryegrass in for the winter, they don't put cows in there. The only thing they grow in that field is cotton, period, nothing else. And one of the things that they've done is cotton has depleted all the um, basic nutrient minerals from the crops down here. And one of the things they learned back in the Dust Bowl was to rotate their crops. Never grow the same crop in the same field twice in a row. Plant it in another. They don't do that anymore. They quit doing it. So guess what? Shame on the farmers down here in South Georgia, because that's why the fibers on the cotton are so short. They refuse to plant something else in the field. They won't grow cotton. I mean, corn. It used to be there's a couple of farms around here on my way into town. I live 15 miles from anywhere. Okay, so I'm surrounded by farmland and woods and plantations, hunting plantations. So I look around the area. Now the hunting plantations, they're really, I gotta say, they manage their property well. But some of them still use, Roundup and stuff. So they're not the perfect, but they do better than some of these farmers. But now some of these farmers were bought up by conglomerate corporations years ago. So where there used to be 6 farmers tending 2,000 acres, it now belongs to one farmer, and it's just run as a business. They put out the chemicals, they do this, it's a business. They don't care. It's every single year. It used to be that they would grow peanuts in this one field one year, and then across the street they'd grow some corn. Well, then they would grow corn in this field, peanuts in part of this field, corn in another part, and cotton in the back, away from the highway. Now they grow cotton on all that property. They don't change. It's not changed in the last 10 years. This particular field, and it's several hundred acres. It's a huge piece of property. Nothing but cotton. They don't rotate the crops. They don't do anything. And now they can't. Now they're bitching because the cotton isn't right. Have they learned at all? I mean, I know my history. I know my farming. I went through my conservation courses in the 70s and 80s and kept up with it because I worked with a gentleman on a farm, and I've worked with farmers around this area for extra income. I've worked at late night. I've worked third shift at the cotton gins to make extra money. I mean, I've worked here. But to see what's going on now, in order for it to recover, 85% of the farming practices in this area right now would need to stop, cease and desist for 5 years, at least 5 years. That's the minimum, at least. There are two types of dandelions where I've been told to pick the narrow leaf ones once compared to the fatter leaf ones, and also the red clover you use in tea. Been told dandelion tea is a good substitute for coffee if I want to quit caffeine. Who wants to quit caffeine? Just saying. They wanted it. She said once dandelion developed a bud, the leaves get bitter, but that nature made a perfect way to detox in spring. I live in Minnesota and it's coming up in spring, but almost spray yards to keep them out. But hard work reaps the rewards. Absolutely, both of you, Sherry. And here's the thing. See, now up in Minnesota and there, and I've been up in that area, lower Minnesota. But to the point, though, it's absolutely different than it is down here in South Georgia. And I can't find a lot of wild herbs that used to grow literally in my field out here. They don't grow anymore. And I attribute it to the spraying of the cotton defoliant, because the broadleaves, and also, the Roundup. Even though I don't put Roundup on, there are, 1,000 acres around me within a 1 mile radius. All it would take was a good wind and the Roundup to not settle and to get on the wind and to settle. But there are certain broadleaves that I used to pick for my chickens. Really nice broadleaves, long things, grow up tall, and when the end of summer, blah blah blah. And I'd clip these, and some of these, had medicinal purposes and so forth. A lot of them actually. And I've been studying medicinal plants since the 70s. I've got a whole library full of medicinal, edible type plants, mushrooms, you name it. I've got a bunch of stuff collected over the years. Several friends of mine who are herbalists, who, I would go out for a weekend and go on walks and collect herbs, and we'd make salves and things, To the point, though, a lot of these herbs are gone. They're just not growing anymore. I mean, what I used to find, I could walk a half a mile around my neighborhood and find stuff growing on the sides of the road, like sassafras. I mean, just stuff. Choke cherries, dandelion, different types of broadleaf. They're not here anymore. Now, I can't speak for the rest of the United States, but there is sort of a rule of thumb. If it's 25 feet from a traveled road, don't pick it. 25 feet, either side of the road. Now, an old dirt road, farm road, one could say. But if it's on a major highway, lots of cars going up, there's so much pollution, 25 feet either side of the road, do not pick, do not use, okay? So usually, though, the fence line, farmers around here, the right-of-way goes up the hill a little bit, then the fence line starts. Anything on the fence line is usually fair game, and on the other side of the fence, if there's anything growing. But if it's from the fence to the road, folks are saying, now, especially here in Georgia, where they spray these damn, glyphosates and Roundup on the side of the road. But even from vehicles and exhaust and stuff like that, and riffraff things, tires, just stuff from the road, the 25 feet either side of the road. Now, that's like a decent highway. Okay, if it's an old country road and a couple of cars, think about it. But to the point, though, around here, where I used to ride the country roads on a weekend, back in the day when I drank beer, I'd buy me a quarter beer, and on the way home on Saturdays from going to the store, I'd take a ride through the country, take me 30 minutes to get home, where it usually takes 5, and I'd look the roads, and I'd check the trees and the sides of the road. And I used to pick all kinds of stuff on the way to the house. Different season, different plants, milkweed, but it's not there anymore. I can drive all day long on a Saturday looking for stuff on the sides of the road and not find squat. It's gone down here. So with that, sounds like all I'm doing is bitching. Well, I guess you could say I am. However, if they quit these shitty practices, it would come back. It will come back. I have confidence, but they got to stop what they're doing. So we got to keep it up. We got to keep telling these people this is stupid what you're doing. You have no, when Christ died on the cross, he said, "Forgive them for what they know, not what they do." I don't know if I can forgive these people. I mean, I don't know. It's not that they just killed one person or one frog or one deer. They've killed an entire species. They have killed an entire ecosystem. How can I forgive these idiots? Because they said it was safe? Because a corporation brainwashed them? I'm working on that. Age of reason. They've lost any reason. These last 15 years, people have lost all reason down here. What used to be like, oh, well, I know that. Those people died and other people take their place. And the people that in this age, they have no reason. They're like, well, that's what you do, right? No. Do you know what it's doing to the ecosystem? Well, it's keeping the weeds down in my field. That's all I care about. Well, yeah, but you've been putting in the same field for the last 15 years. Don't you know what that does? Well, I don't care. As long as I make my profit every year, as long as I make ends meet, as long as I keep food on the table. So 15 years later, when the cotton won't grow, when the weeds are growing through the Roundup, when all the wildlife's dead, but you know what? In the old days, because I've been in South Georgia now since uh, 74, 1974. I've been in South Georgia, and there it used to be so plush, all different kinds of things growing on the sides of the roads and medicinal plants and this. And I mean, people had gardens everywhere. We used to give, fresh vegetables. I've got more squash. Well, I got extra beans. Well, I got cucumbers and I got these. We swapped, and everybody rotated their crops. Some farmers, farmers would grow little gardens for their workers. They don't do that anymore. When I worked at one of the cotton gins outside of Moultrie, where my father-in-law at the time worked, the boss of the cotton gin planted a big garden for all the workers at the gin. Now we all went and hoed and planted this and that. We all chipped a little bit in for some of the seeds, and we all weeded and. But the thing is, we all had fresh vegetables, and the property belonged to the gin. And but the thing is we all worked it. We all shared it. It was great vegetables. I mean, the beans and the peas. Oh my God, the zipper peas when they're fresh. Oh my God. Oh, if you've never had fresh zipper peas, with some string beans in them, man, I'm here to tell you. But to the point though, I can't. It's not here anymore. Now that was 25 years ago. Okay. But even 15 years ago, in 2000, 2001, 2002, there was still some of that around. But since 2005, it's like things just changed. And I told people back then, I said, I don't know what's going on, but something's up. Something's changed. 2005, 6, and 7, right in there, something big time changed. The way people thought, the way people cared, the way they cared about agriculture. I mean, the folks around here and planting garden, sharing garden. I mean, it all just changed. They quit growing gardens. They quit sharing gardens. They quit sharing vegetables. I don't know. We're going to fix it though. People wonder why depression is more common than that these days. Here in Minnesota, there are places that have community gardens, but I'm not sure if they are organic. We worked hard to get what we have and didn't take it for granted. I still work hard and get great enjoyment from what I am reaping. It is what I've sown, and now they expect it. Yep, you reap what you sow. But the thing is that now I got to speak for my area because I know not all areas have had this kind of crap done to it. Okay, with the all the poisons on the ground. Okay, so but to the point though, a lot of people are having issues with growing things because of what I just said about the light and so forth and outside things. And so our attitude has changed in that. Now, the things that I have grown and that the bugs didn't take, early on in the spring were absolutely marvelous. I had a good crop of strawberries early on in the springs. And then one day it was like there were strawberries, and I walked out in the garden the next day and there were no strawberries. I mean, no green ones, no nothing. It was like somebody took my straw, and I got there. I probably got 3 or 4 hundred. I'm not joking. 3 or 4 hundred strawberry plants spread out through my garden and the yard and everything. And I went one day and I was like, if they were still a little pink and a little white on top, I was like, oh, I'll come back for you tomorrow. And I'd go feed the chickens, go through the garden, have a couple of fresh strawberries in the morning, eat some, fresh asparagus sprouts raw, fresh okra raw, just go through the garden, fresh pea, a little this, some spinach, I just go through the garden and munch. That was my breakfast and partially lunch sometimes too. All organic, everything's fresh out of the garden. So then the next, it was like I missed a day, went out, and all the strawberries were gone. I went and looked for the spinach that I had, and bugs had eaten all the spinach. I mean, it was like in a 48-hour period, my garden went to munching, eating through, and being quite content. Now, it would be like having a nice salad that would fit in your hands, what I would eat as I munched through the garden. So in 48 hours from having a wonderful time to going out in the garden and not finding anything to eat without picking bugs off, or it's like, where did all the strawberries just disappeared? It was like somebody picked my garden up and gave it to somebody else, or I went through a time loop. I mean, I literally looked out in my garden and went, this ain't the same place. I mean, there was a big limb that fell out of the peach tree. There was other things that happened. There were plants that I put in a new section of the garden. I spent like 6 months, getting the weeds out and putting in dirt and putting in manure and getting it ready because I was opening up a new section of the garden. Put seeds out, put the rows out. 48 hours later, went back out. I couldn't even see where I put the rows in. I couldn't find any seeds. Nothing came up. And it was like, did I just go through a time warp? Because my garden ain't the garden I started with. It ain't the garden I left 48 hours ago. And this last 2 months, there were a couple of weeds. Now I can't find my garden because there are weeds everywhere. And I went through my garden with a fine tooth comb and pulling up the roots and everything, seeds, blah, 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 blah. I had turned it and turned it and turned it naturally with a fork, and I don't get it. It's like my backyard is someplace else. I don't get it. It's just so freaking odd, strange. And it's the kind of weeds that are there that don't grow anywhere else in my yard, only in my garden now. What? I mean, I don't get it. So we just had a dry winter. Winds come in, yet only a little rain. So when the rains do finally set in for the season, bugs will have a party. Yeah, that's what happened to us. We need to have an organic food grow and bring children into it so they can learn about organic food and develop pride in growing organic food. Yeah, well, if you grow it, it would be organic. But I digress in that, you know what I mean. But to the point, I know my granny started out with me, and we lived in Florida, and the ground wasn't very good, but she had a couple of plants, and we had tomatoes and a couple of things, but it wasn't like a big garden. Now, I went into gardening, and I wanted a bigger garden, and so I was the gardener of the group. But my granny, she was more into flowers and things, but we shared it. And so the other day I made a thing about, Grandparents' Day, and I was like, Grandma Raleigh. She was the lady, she was my mantra, she still comes and visit me after all these years. I can still feel her presence. And it's like, and what she taught me and shared with me growing up about plants and outside and nature and stuff, I got that from Granny. And a lot of times now, grandparents is like, my children won't let my grandchildren come. They disallow them because grandpa's too crazy. I know too much. I talk about things. So I would show my grandson or my grandchildren how to grow naturally. What do they know how to grow anything? They they don't know how to grow a house plant, let alone go out in the garden and just sweat for an hour and to work outside. Oh, this is too hot. I can't handle this. Oh, it's too much work. It's the way it is these days, you know. Now, to the same point, I know a gentleman who comes by my house once a month, a couple of times a month, but once a month to mow my yard. He didn't even want money. Okay. He was doing it as a favor to me because I'm an old man. And I sit around and share stories with him. And, I'll smoke a joint with him once in a while or whatever, or I'm into crystals and I talk to him about alternate energy and earth batteries and things like that. So he comes by to sit with me and chat with me once or twice a month. Mows my yard for free, for God's sakes. And it's like 2.5 acres a yard. He comes over, mows it, brings a friend, they weed eat, we sit around, I, share stories, whatever I can with him, try to give them money and he refuses, and he's like 35 years old. And I mean, I'm 66. And I look back and I think he's less than half my age. But he's got a wisdom, and his partner too. They're into landscaping and doing these other things. There is something about them. They're old souls. So not everybody in this new age is crazy and not paying attention. But I got to say, they're few and far between. Now, there are a lot of folks who talk a good game. Ooh, organic gardening and I'm a vegan and all this other stuff when you ain't got crap. You don't have a clue what's really going on. If you didn't make money, then you couldn't have your organics. I mean, that's all there is to it. The big organic store down in Tallahassee, Florida. I can't afford to shop there. I would have to earn $75,000 to $100,000 a year to be able to buy the organic food from this organic store. Now, is their food good? Yeah. Are you healthy from it? Yeah. Can I afford it? No. Can any of my friends in my retired on Social Security afford it? No. We don't make enough money, and food stamps don't cover it. We don't get food stamps anyway. I make $1,000 a month, and I can't get food stamps. I make too much money. I'm on Social Security, limited income, but yet, I make too much money for food stamps. Okay, so a lot of us can't eat organically, so we try to plant. But now that the gardening thing the last few years has gone so that crap cray cray, I don't know what we're going to do. Now, me personally, I got my stuff fixed. In fact, I'm going to try to do some videos as the weather cools down. I had some storm damage and other things getting away, and all my gardening equipment is, knee high in weeds. I gotta make a path just to get to my garden stuff because the last month or so has been so hard on me outside, been too hot. Anyway, enough complaining. But food is magic. Absolutely, Marie. Food is magic. Absolutely. So, but I'm going to do some interior gardening. My south facing wall, I've got a plan to put in one of these trickle kind of, it's sort of like hydroponics, but not. It's another name for it, but it's more hydroponic than not. It uses a medium anyway. So I'm going to try different things. I've got a partial front porch greenhouse thingy that I've been transforming. And when it got too hot in the end of June, I had to skip that project. And now that I'm back on that project and working on it again, now that it's cooler in the evenings and the early mornings. In fact, when I get done with this video, I'm probably going to go out this morning and work for an hour, digging a little bit of dirt and moving some stuff around because I want to get my front porch finished before winter sets in so I can have my greenhouse front porch ready for growing this winter. Okay. So with that, I send you my love, Marie, Quartz, all of y'all. I'm getting gyms moving in tomorrow with my lawnmowers dead, so I have to pay for this one until I get myself a new mower. Absolutely. Well, take care of yourselves. Be kind to one another. Thanks for hanging out with me. I would have stopped this an hour and a half ago, but I've seen you guys hanging out with me and so forth. So, of course, I had to stay awake and chit chat with you. But I love you for it and everything. And thanks for hanging out with me. And I hope that anything that I've said made a little bit of sense. If nothing else, it gives you a different point of view of what things are like down here and what from other observations that I've made from other parts of the United States. So, yeah, but thank you so much, Miss Sherry D. Um, just understand that I think because we all have a good intent, I think that we can change this. If they quit selling it and quit making it and so forth, those of us who are connected with the earth that wish to do this, I think we can change a lot simply by our intentions. And that if they quit making this stuff so they can't be polluted, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, we can change it because our intent, our love will make things better. That's our intent. I mean, I'll tell you this little quick story. My first wife, she her father was in his 60s when I married her. He lived to like 97 years old. But Uncle John, Mr. John, he had like a quarter acre of garden, and he grew mustards, turnips, collards, and a couple of little vegetables, some peas. Now, he lived right almost downtown Moultrie. I mean, a couple of blocks, like 4 blocks from off the square downtown. All right. And so what Mr. John did is that he went out and would sit in his garden and talk to his vegetables. Now, I might have mentioned this before in some other videos, but to the point, Mr. John, people in the wintertime would come by when his greens come in. Mr. John had the best greens there was. And because at the time he could have this little garden right there in town, right beside the house, and he used a push. I mean, he was 70 years old out there with a little push plow and growing, and he would put the seeds in by hand, and he would sit out in the garden for hours and talk to the plants. And his was the best damn vegetables. He never used a weed killer. He never used, a lot of times he would let a couple of his collard plants go over, use the seeds from the collards that he grew for seeds so he wouldn't have to buy them the next year. But so many different things. But the thing is, people would come up from all rich people in Cadillacs would buy fresh greens from Mr. John's garden because they were made with love and they were the best in town at the time. Well, he's gone. His garden's gone. Nobody in town grows vegetables like that anymore. You have to get them from a big farm or something like that. But the thing is that the vegetables he grew were so good, and he didn't do anything. The ground wasn't that good. It was mostly sand, actually. He used a little bit of 5, 10, 15 on his vegetables. But what made his vegetable good was his prayer, his communication, his talking with the plants, his intent to grow good vegetables. And people come from all over town to buy them from him. It was amazing. I helped pick them and wrap them in rubber bands for him. I mean, people would bring their own bags and things. I mean, but to the point, though, I miss him. I miss his vegetables. I miss those fresh greens. Now I'm fixing to plant my winter garden, and I'll have collards and turnips and mustard growing again. But to the point, though, his love is what made them vegetables the best. I firmly believe it. So we can change the world, especially with our intention. If they get rid of this crap, we can fix it. We can. It's here. We can do it. The galactics are behind us. So we just got to keep having faith. So good morning to you, Marie, Quartz, bye-bye, and so forth. I'll get my yard ready to plant. Yeah. Oh, yeah, well, you're coming into summertime, aren't you, Marie? That's right. That's right. I got to keep remembering that. And I don't know if y'all have noticed, but there's been some weird, funky stuff coming, smoky things coming into my screen tonight that just shouldn't be there. But anyway, just wondered if anybody else saw it. It's acting kind of strange. Blessings to all of you praying for anyone in the path of the hurricane. I missed prior to. I will have to catch the replay of this to catch what I missed. You are an educator. Miss Sherry, thank you so much, all of you, and so blessings. You are needed as well as your knowledge. Well, you know what? That's the kindest thing anybody said for a while. And as an old person, I look back and I think, there are so many things I can't do anymore. But there's so much information that I just have, not to make me better than someone. I've acquired this knowledge. And my grandmother shared it. My grandparents shared it. And that's all I really want to do is just share the knowledge, help someone show how to grow an organic garden, what to do, how to turn this, how to be, but anymore, it's just like people just think that the information that I have is just useless. And it's like when someone like you, Miss Sherry, I've never met you. I don't, you've seen me, but I don't want you to. That's not important. The important thing is that we have connected. We've connected on a quantum level, and that all of these things are important. And so when someone says that I am needed as well as my knowledge, uh, it only takes one person to make another person feel better. And I wasn't feeling bad, but my birthday's coming up. I'm going to be 66, and I'm looking back going, am I worth it? Is there anything in my life that is really worth it for somebody else? And Miss Sherry, you say, I'm needed as well as my knowledge. And that's what the spirits keep saying. Dave, you got to talk to folk. You got to let them, you got to pass the knowledge along. There are going to be some people who go like, I don't need this, and move on. And there are other people, like-minded people, who are going to just like to have the conversation. So thank you. Thank you. That's like a really good birthday present for me. It really is. Just to know that I'm still, you're 62 years old. Blessings to you. Then see, you as an older person too, then you get it. It's like, people want to tell me that I'm useless. And I look back and I go, not yet. I might be useless as far as, working in Walmart or something, but am I useless as do I have no value at all anymore? Well, not quite. But somebody else's opinion says that my value is less than, can I do the jobs I used to do? No. But do I still have value? I think so. And Miss Sherry, you have value. Marie, you have value. We all have value. It's this somebody else has come up with a criteria that says, well, you don't ice skate the way you used to. Well, you can't plow as much as you used to. I don't run as fast as I used to. Does that mean I'm useless? No. I'm learning to ride my bike again at 66. I can ride my bike more now than I could 3 years ago when I bought it. Can I still ride it up and down the highway yet? Not quite. Can I ride it around the yard? Yeah. Okay. 3 years ago, I could barely ride it to the shed and back, which isn't very far. But to the point, though, I'm trying to get healthier even as I get older. I'm not quitting. I'm going to go back and do camping again. If it's by myself, I'm going to go back to the river with my kayak. I haven't been able to pick up my kayak because of injuries, but I'm not giving up. No, I'm just waiting on cooler weather. That's the only thing right now. So, but don't give up. None of us. I'm still young at heart. I'm still 19 in my head. I'm still an old hippie. So your indoor gardening videos will teach people how to do it themselves. I will turn 63 in December. We are as old as we feel. Sometimes I feel 100, by the way. When we keep our vibrations higher, we have more energy. Absolutely. And right now, I don't know about you, Sherry, but I know I've been told that I just have to be, in order for some of this healing to happen, I just have to be quiet. I have to be down. I have to be asleep. And as I've discussed in other videos, I want to go back to being 20, but I want to take the knowledge that I have with me. That I want to go back to being 20 because then I wouldn't do all the stupid stuff, and I'd have 50 years, 40 years of being able to maybe do something right. I can't just re-injured my knee from riding my bike along the beach. Just recently, again, the guards can't ride bikes anymore because of my knee. You know what? I've talked about my knee, my left knee. It was broken in 1967 in a football game, and I was clipped from behind, and I literally watched my foot fly past my helmet. It landed twisted as I fell forward. It landed twisted on my back, and it took 4 surgery over the course of 5 years to correct it. And for a long time, I couldn't bend my knee at hardly at all. Now, I'll be 66 on the 24th of this month. And right now, I can bend my knee more now than it's been since 1967. Now, I don't know what happened to it. I used to have bone fragments in there. When I walked, you could literally hear it crunching as I walked. I couldn't ride a bike because I couldn't bend my knee enough. I couldn't adjust no matter what I did, I couldn't put the seat up high enough, whatever it was. I didn't have enough motion in my left leg in order to make the cycle all the way around with the pedal. Really good with the right leg. Now I can ride my bike when I couldn't ride it in 1968 or 9 or 70 or any since 66. So since 1966, I've not been able to ride a bike properly. And now I can, and at 66? Wait, there's 1966, and I am 66. So I know it does suck, Marie, but we have to program our new bodies. Our bodies are changing through ascension. What could it hurt to talk to our bodies as he talked to his plants? Absolutely. And see, one of the things that I tell folks, and I've learned this prayer, it's probably a couple of years now, but it's real simple. I accept and receive the energy and the healing and the knowledge from the cosmos. I accept and receive the healing of the universe. I accept and receive all incoming healing messages, knowledges from the cosmos. There's something about repeating it 3 times. Now, I didn't say the same thing each 3 times, but my intent was the same, and it was to accept the healing. When I started saying that prayer on a daily basis, the arthritis is gone, almost gone in my hands. My knuckles aren't swelled up like they used to be. This finger here that I had microsurgery on when I cut it in prison on a meat saw, I haven't been able to bend it that far on its own. I could only bend it that far for the longest time, which wasn't even 90-degree angle. Now I can close my fist, and it doesn't really hurt. Now, where's this healing coming from? I haven't been to a doctor in almost a year. I've quit taking pharmaceutical medicines mostly. I still take aspirin and things, but so things are changing in my body that I like. Wait a minute, I got a really bad scar right here. They went into my neck 3 times and reconstructed my neck. They took all the vertebrae out and put all the disc out and fused it together. I'm not supposed to be able to turn my head the way I do. What the hell happened? The last one, it was C5 and 6, didn't heal. When I couldn't turn my head more than this much right here. Now I can touch my shoulder to my chin. That's just been in the last 3 years. Since I started saying the prayer, I accept and receive the healing and the energy of the cosmos. I accept and receive the knowledge, the prayers, the healing. And it's not from any God. I don't say, and God. Now, I do say creator, but we've had this discussion about God before. But the thing is, yes, Sherry D, everything is possible. And what's really strange is that I'm seeing changes It was the last thing I expected to be able to ride a bike after 50 years of injury. Are you serious? And it has been that long. I broke my leg about the age of 16. Oh my God, I'm 66. It's been 50 years. Shit. And I can ride a bike now. So, and the other thing too, impossible is I'm impossible. Here's something. And I spoke about this before, but here's something else. And I'm going to wrap this up. But I enjoy talking with y'all. I do. I didn't believe 100%. Now, I thought I did. My intent was there, but there was a little bit of doubt. And it happened about 3 or 4 years ago, best I can go back to. And there was something that I was like, you know what? I believe this. But there was some little kind of twinge inside me. I can't really explain other than it was like a twinge. That was like, well, do you believe this? Yeah. But there was something was like, but you got to show me. I'm from Missouri. You got to show me. I don't know. You say, okay. The cosmic game, I'm going to be healed. Okay. All right. But then an angel message came to me that I just absolutely couldn't refuse. I couldn't refute it. I went down on the river. I died that weekend twice. They drowned me. They killed me with heat exhaustion. And on the 4th day I came off, actually it was the 3rd day, but the 3rd day I came off the river and I was like, I should have been dead. I should have been dead. 104 degrees in the daytime, middle of dog days in August, caught on the river, bad back, slipped, fell, me and my dog, I less than a gallon of anything to drink, 2 moon pies in a the peanut butter bar thingy with chocolate, right? 4 days on the river. I should have dehydrated. I should have, I didn't have my meds. I should have died. I did. I walked with the spirits. And since that point, I realized, oh my God, I said I believed, but there was about 1% that wasn't there. And it took me a walk on the wild side with the spirits from the other realm to tell me, guess what? The reason you've been having trouble is because you didn't believe 100.1%. It's gotta be more than 100%. It's only gotta be a 0.01, but you gotta believe that full 100%. If you think it's possible, but you don't believe it, ain't gonna happen. So I was getting disappointed because I was like, well, but don't I believe? And the answer is coming back, not quite. Well, yeah, but I studied this for 20 years. I believe it. Well, you believe it's possible, but you don't believe it, Dave. And I was like, I had serious conversations with myself. Like, well, hell yeah. No, you don't. You think you believe. You don't actually believe it. Oh, shit. And there was. And that was my turning point. My turning point was, I was like, oh, holy crap. It really is real. It really is there. It really is. And I'm like 110% now. There ain't no way you can turn me back around with what I've learned and the knowledge and the healing and stuff. I mean, my finger, my neck, my knee, and they're working on my lower back because that was one of the worst accidents that I had was my lower back. Now I'm working on it and I've got my fingers crossed and I believe that the healing is here and coming. It ain't here now, but I'm also being told, and I'm being knocked out for 2 or 3 days on end so that the healing can take place. So I can feel the changes. I can see the changes. Okay, they're here. So do I believe 100% now? You betcha. What I see about other people, they believe it's possible, but they haven't gotten that I believe it in my soul 100%. So they're almost there. I was there for a long time, but it took a really critical something else to happen for me to get that last 1%. And it's like, but when I did, it was like all kinds of knowledge came in. The angel messages were more, the downloads, Mother Mary, the understanding of certain knowledge and cosmic things and stuff. So that's the only thing I can attribute it to. I believe that it's possible, but I didn't believe it in my heart 100%. But when I took that last 1% leap, everything else started coming in. So, yes, it is possible. I made I am statements. I am, and then my body changed. And that is great to hear in unison. Yes. I can only say my vocabulary is improved in spelling slightly, but my body is needing a rest and near malfunctioning. Do you know what, Marie? I mean, I last week over the 4th, the 5th, I lost Monday. I don't know where Labor Day went. I mean, I don't. I'm still trying to figure it out, a week ago. And so, but you know what? It used to piss me off. It used to depress me. Oh my God, I've been asleep for a day. I don't know what happened. Now I think, well, there must have been some hellacious healing going on. I must have needed that day off, I guess. Or it might have been I was planning on going outside, probably hurting my back and digging in, you know. But to the point though, it's like now, thank goodness, in my little life and where I live now and everything, I can get knocked out for a couple of days and it doesn't affect anybody except me and my chickens. Well, and the cats, they get pissed off too. But okay, those are the only critters, right? But to the point though, it's like I can feel a difference. I can tell a difference in other things. I mean, my finger's working better than it did a couple of days ago. The soreness is leaving. And I'm not taking any more medicines. I'm taking meds too. I'm taking one aspirin 2, maybe 3 times a day. I was taking Laura tabs 8 a day, every 4 hours or every 6 hours. Crumb. I was taking ibuprofen. Crumb. I was taking this. Crumb. I was taking all these other things. Crumb. I was taking damn near 30 pills a day, and now I take 6. Now, Benadryl, I take 2 or 3 of those a day. I can't, I've tried, but when my nose just won't quit running, it's time for Benadryl. The pain in the aspirin and so forth, I know it's an analgesic and I know it helps out. And so rather than take a bunch of Loratabs and all these sure up high doses of, other painkillers, 3 aspirin. I used to take 3 aspirin for a headache. Now I take 3 aspirin in a day. I take 1 ibuprofen. Now it's an 800 milligram, but I take 1. I used to take 3 a day. So my medicines and what I'm doing, way down, way down. I should be hurting more, if anything. I mean, I should be having more problems. Now my lower back, that's my biggest issue, but it's really got a hold of me, yanked me hard this time. But I do feel it's healing. I mean, I could straighten out better. I was doing some, bendy exercises, just simple sit-ups, not just trying to do range of motion, nothing, too heavy duty. I'm not going back into jumping jacks. I mean, I played football, so I know all kinds of exercises. Back when I had my leg broken, I learned about physical therapy. I learned physical therapy, and then I did physical therapy for other people, for children, and so forth. And so, so for all these years, a lot of stuff I've known. But to the point though, a lot of this stuff, no matter how hard I tried, until the belief system, it wasn't working for me. I was going to the doctor, spending money, nothing was working. I was trying to exercise, I was doing this and that, and I just kept, got the hiccups. I just kept getting worse. Now, 100% I do believe. And now the healing's attaching itself or something. I can visually see the arthritis better, feel it. I don't wake up in the middle of the night screaming that my hands hurt. What is it that I've done? Accept the healing 100%. That's all I can say I've done different, except get off the meds. So, okay, there's my proof. I hope it works for you. Um, I hear I am statements are better, so I also praised it as I am growing younger as every moment passes. Now people think I am in my 40s. Well, there are folk, yeah, my hair is a little gray and everything, but at 66, I know people in their 50s that their hair is gray all over the place. And it's like, I still have brown hair, you know, and yeah, okay. But I mean, I should have gray hair. I'm 66, but there are people much younger than me that, they look 60 and they're only in their late 40s or 50s. So to the point, you like your language and the way you phrase it. Um, Aging gracefully. A couple of years ago, I wasn't. I was pissed off as you betcha. But to the point, though, I realized, you know what? And I've always felt this. You're only as young as you feel. But there were other things that were making me feel older, and my brain was going, yeah, but I don't feel 63. My head feels like 20, and my body was going, So, but at the same point, I was like, though, and as you said, Sherry, in the last since this turnaround of believing in the healing, I was like, well, you know what? As my body, as I'm allowing my body to heal on a cosmic level, as I still think I'm in my 20s or at least my early 30s in my brain, okay, then I can change these things on an outward scale. Now, my hair was grayer 2 years ago, and I haven't done anything different. Now, I do take zinc and supplements and certain things, and certain vitamins like zinc, and I use, like, instead of shampoos or whatever, I use witch hazel, and it takes all the oil out of your hair. It will help maintain and keep the gray out. Witch hazel, and you just use it it's an astringent. It's good for your body. It's good for you. I don't think you can drink it, but I don't know if it would hurt you. But to the point, though, it's like, all right, yes, and as we pursue our passions, it's like for me, I got knocked down, hurt, and couldn't get back in my kayak. My kayak's sitting right on the other side of this wall over here, and me and it are going to the river. You know, it's just been too hot for me to do what I need to do. So as it's turning into fall, and I'm hitting the river again. I'm doing little push-ups and exercises. I got some weight sitting. I got one of these little. It's a 3 pound weight. Okay, this one. Now I got two 5 pounders too. But I just sit here and watch television, or I'm listening to a YouTube, and I take this 3 pounds. And it's like, well, what good is this doing it? It's 3 pounds. Okay. In any kind of exercise, a repetitious exercise will help build your muscles. So it's not like I need 50 pounds to do this. I don't want to bulk up and look like, the Rock or anything. I just want to be healthy. I want my muscles to work. So what do? I take this little 3 pound weight and I do different exercises with it. I can sit in my chair. It's low impact. It will keep me healthy. I can do curls. You say, well, what is it? You use witch hazel when I was pregnant. Witch hazel is good. And that's something my granddaddy passed down for me in the 60s, So, but anyway, so, my exercising, can I get outside and run around yet? No, not yet. Can I ride my bicycle in the early morning when it's cool? Yeah, a little ways, but I couldn't do that 3 years ago. So, I mean, are things getting better? Yeah. And it's my attitude. I'm accepting and believing 100% that it can do. Or Arnold. Yeah. Yeah. No, Arnold looks a little weird these days, but, I think it was all the supplements he took. You're only 47, so I can't speak of wisdom, only from experience. Marie, you've got wisdom. You've shown it. So don't cut yourself short there. Still got some lessons to learn. Yeah. Well, at 66, I still got a few. I don't know what they are yet, but I'm sure they're there. Exercise keeps you young. It keeps helps telomeres. Yep, which keep you young. All of the above. You know, but the biggest thing is that I had that severe brain trauma and had lost all control of bodily functions. I mean, they turned me into a vegetable in a wheelchair, for God's sakes. And so it was like, okay, so I'm out of that. So now I'm walking again. I don't need the wheelchair. I'm not even you. I mean, I got a cane right beside here that I made myself that I used to have to use to get to the toilet and back. I don't use it anymore. Once in a while I use my cane. I used to have to use it all the time. And I don't anymore. So so much has changed to the positive, and the only thing that I can really say is different is my attitude. I believe 100.1%. I understand. I believed it before, or at least I understood it, but there was that 1%. So it's like, okay, I'm repeating myself. I'm going back over it. But I'm doing all these little simple things that old people can do, sitting in your chair. And it's like, you know what? You're right, Marie. It is from experience. But you know what? Some of these things, it's like the experience I learned when I was like 18, 19, 20. All this stuff I've learned about exercise and stuff, I learned it before I was 25. So it's old information. And I didn't need this information until recently, until after I had that bad accident. Now I have to use what I learned in my 20s, now in my 60s. So it's old information to me, something I've known all my life. But as an older person, I didn't know how to use it. So now I'm getting my brain back because of the brain injury. But as I get my brain back, my brain's figuring out, well, that was really simple. You can do this, Dave. You used to do it. Oh, so for me, it has been the great remembering because of the brain trauma that I've had. So I went from drooling out both sides of my mouth and peeing on myself all the time and not being able to go to the toilet to I'm independent, taking care of myself. Not as good as I'd like, but we're working on it. So, but it's all old memories. 20-year-old being a kid again. The Galactics have said all things old will become new again. I'm 66, turning 16. All things old are going to become new again. So I'm with you guys on that one. You know how people have had lessons on the shadow self and forgiveness. I had to retrograde back into childhood to understand where I became that person and why. And the hardest part was to heal it. Oh, Miss Marie, very wise words right there. The shadow self, the inner side, the darker side, if you will, whatever. Yep. And I still got some things that happened. I was adopted at the age of 3.5, but I was born in an orphanage. I was in 6 different foster homes in the first 3 years of my life, plus with my mother in between times. So I was a confused young kid. All right. But something that happened to me in them 3.5 years before I was adopted. And I still don't know what. It wasn't good. I know that for a fact. But now that I'm not scared of it anymore, I have been delving into that darkness. And part of me has said, you're not gonna like what you find. Because what you thought it was, it ain't. It's something even more sinister than that. I mean, I have dreams of being in underground caves being held down by beings. And I was having these dreams as a young kid. And when I tried to describe them to people, they were like, well, you just have a vivid imagination. But the thing is, when you have the same dream for 65 years or 64, 3 years, when you have the same damn dream and it started when you were a child, there's something in there. And it doesn't have to do with anybody that I've met or something weird went on. And when I think about, what the Catholics done, because I was born in a Catholic orphanage, Catholic weirdness, all, was pedophiled by Catholic priests. It was almost like they stamped me. Weird, I know. And this is for another discussion, maybe. But to the point, though, in trying to go back into that darkness, I have been warned off. Be careful. Be careful, D. Because what I think it is, it ain't. That's what I've been told. And that be happy with what you think it could be, because it's going to be a hell of a lot uglier if you really find out the real truth. Now, I'm sure that in my passing, I will know what really happened to me. And I absolutely think it has to do with ET crap and Montauk kind of whatever they were doing to me, because there are just things different about me that don't fit anybody else. And the dreams that I've had of being chased in underground caverns and just stuff, that there's no way I should have those kinds of memories. I shouldn't have memories of caverns and being chased by strange beings. Just ain't supposed to be there. So anyway. Yes, Miss Sherry, I have come a long way. I mean, 4 years ago, I was in a wheelchair and drooling. Couldn't dial a phone, couldn't pay my own bills. I mean, it was horrible, absolutely horrible. Been a path to retrograde and face my dark personality. And as I am now, I have what I become from it, and my enemy, the devil, in my own mirror, not in others as I see it in other ways. In others, right. You know, we all have that dark side. And I personally, I think that in the times that we are in now, because back in the 60s, it wasn't the same way as it is now. There are entities on this planet now that I swear weren't here before. So there are things that are affecting us in this day and age that when I was growing up just didn't exist. Did the devil exist? Yeah. Was there evil? Yeah. Were there pedophiles back then? Yeah. But to the point, though, it was different. It was just different. Now it's like everywhere you turn, there's a pedophile. Everywhere you turn, there's weirdness. People are trying to. I'm sorry, it's different. It was it. Did it happen back then? Yeah, but the frequency of times, the amount of people, all that paradigm has changed. So the things that are affecting a lot of people now didn't used to exist, but maybe just in a small relative way, crossing over to insanity. Yeah. The insanity is what they've made us to believe, and I'm coming out of my insanity. I mean, I took mental health drugs for 25 years, some kind of antidepressant or something. I'm not on any of it now. I don't get angry like I used to. I mean, I don't get depressed like I used to. There's so many things. Wait, I'm not taking those drugs. Wait, now I have chats with people because I'm understanding things on a spiritual level that has nothing to do with religion, on a quantum level that has nothing to do with anything but quantum. I mean, cosmic. Okay. So the things that are happening now to me and that I'm manifesting on my own, manifesting with the help of other people and conversations, these things are happening. Could they have happened back then? Yeah, but just things in general were different. So it's like, this is a coming of age. This is a great awakening. We are here. So blessings to you. I gotta go pee. I've been at this 333. A good time to quit, eh? 333. All right, Marie, Sherry, D, I love you. I do. And, in the cosmic world of stuff, maybe one day we can all get together and have a cup of coffee or a beverage or whatever, and our favorite Danish or pastry. Okay. So with that said, I love you. I do. I do. I do. And I wish you all good health and so forth. And Wish me luck, if you will, Miss Marie and Sherry D and whoever else might be on. Wish me luck for the next couple days because I really want to clean my house in case somebody needs to come here and um, and get away from the storm. So, but anyway, other than that, yeah, okay, the house is a little sloppy, but for my birthday, I kept saying, thanks, Quartz. Wishing you luck as well. But say a little prayer for Mr. Dave in the next couple of days. I want to mop my floors. Okay, I mean I really do. So just give me the strength to do this little bit of housework these next few days, especially in case someone needs to come. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, Sherry D, and luck of the leprechauns and a shoe tubery. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Bye till next time. Be safe all the way around. Love you guys. Bye. Thank you.